And then what was the reasoning behind instituting a curfew?
There are some public safety concerns, a lot of people being very, very closer, much closer than is safe, and people actually in the water. We are concerned that we would put public safety personnel at risk to do a rescue in those kinds of situations. It's much easier to have people removed from those dangerous situations, and that's the reasoning for a curfew.
Chief, have there been problems? I mean, are the police encountering issues at flood sites or of any other nature?
Not so much problems. There have been people trying to re-enter at night. There was a water rescue yesterday, fairly close to here, as I recall. It's one thing doing them during the day. It's a whole different ballgame doing them at night.
In all the decisions we've made throughout this incident, we've taken public safety, the safety of our citizens as well as the safety of our staff into consideration to make these decisions.
Can you just outline, I came in a little late, but can you outline again the areas that have been flooded and what portions of the city have been flooded, what percentage of the city's area has been flooded? Thank you.
The maps that are over on the wall on the east side of the room define both the 100-year floodplain in the orange, and then beyond that in the green is the 500-year floodplain. It's safe to say that most everywhere that's covered in orange on that map that's in the Iowa River floodplain is flooded. Now, I need to make that distinction because that map also represents the Ralston Creek floodplain and the Willow Creek floodplain. Specifically, when you look at our airport, that's under the influence of Willow Creek, not the Iowa River. That's an important distinction there. Before the end of the event, we expect that all of those areas in the green will also be flooded, and perhaps some areas beyond.
How much of the city does that cover?
I think I'd do better at this than that.
How much of the area of the city does that cover? Was your question? Was that right? Okay.
Yeah. Our city is approximately 25 square miles, and I've not done an area takeoff at this, so I'm sorry I can't make that comparison.
You said it's 25 square miles.
Our city as a whole is 25 square miles. I can't tell you how many square miles that covers. It's not something that we're focused on right now.
It's like a third or a...
No.
Do you quantify like that?
I don't want to take a guess at that at this point. Yeah.
What portions of the city does that cover? Is that
The map?
straight through the city?
Yes.
How many residents are included in those areas?
We've evacuated between 500 and 600 homes, not residents. So how many are in those areas, it's difficult to say, but that's what we know about the mandatory evacuations.
Are there more that are expected that are in the green areas?
Mandatory evacuations. We've contacted residents in those areas and recommended evacuations. We've recommended evacuations in areas that also have limited access, and we had staff out yesterday and today notifying them.
Can you say how many people you recommended evacuate? If they're not mandatory, you're recommended evacuation. Can you say that when you talk?
I don't know that we looked at numbers. I mean, we use those green areas and targeted those. Some of those areas have businesses, and some of those are residential.
You can say how many houses.
But if for example you consider Manville Heights, which only has one access that's not covered by water, there are portions of that we've recommended that people make provisions because they only have one access route. So no, I can't say exact numbers.
You had talked about shoring up the wells. Obviously, it looks like the work behind the water treatment plant is continuing. What about the ones on the peninsula? Are those secure as well?
No, we are not. We're no longer focusing on the ones on the peninsula because our access to them along Foster Road has been cut off.
Anyone with a car parked on the east side of the city center and visitor parking, you need to move it. Anyone with a vehicle parked on the east parking lot, east visitor parking lot of the city center, you need to move it.
Rick, the four wells, you said it's 4 wells that are secured. How much of the city's water is served by those, or how much of the city is served by those wells?
We'll have sufficient capacity with those 4 wells to serve the city. We've got quite a number of different sources. They're deliberately diverse for these types of events.
Is there still the threat of, I think, of losing electrical power and having water service disrupted that way?
We have backup generators at both the water treatment plant and the wastewater treatment plant. But we do have concerns about maintaining power, and that's why we have those generators in place.
In our briefing with Mid-America this morning, they've indicated that they have a protocol in place for rerouting power as much as needed, but certainly it's not 100% guaranteed. They felt reasonably confident this morning that they'd be able to maintain power to us throughout this event.
Have either of the plants been flooded, the wastewater and the 2 plants, right?
3 plants total. We have 1 water plant, 2 wastewater plants. Of the 3, only our north wastewater treatment plant has some flooding at it. And there are some facilities there that are flooded, and others are reinforced.
We're going to interrupt this news conference from Iowa City because we have to go back to Josh Baines again for more weather warnings. Right, Josh?
Well, we had a severe thunderstorm warning out for southern Lynn, Johnson, and parts of Iowa till 4. It's moving pretty slow, so another severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. It does include parts of Johnson County. In fact, a lot of it. Iowa City and Coralville, you're included in it. And the expiration time on that is going to be 4:45, just issued from the National Weather Service. And it also includes the northeastern portion of Iowa County, and Benton County continues under a severe thunderstorm warning, and that will expire at 4:30, I do believe. And also Tama County, severe thunderstorm warning till 4:45. Up to the north, we have northern Delaware continuing till 4:30, southeastern Clayton till 4:15, and the southern portion of Grant County until 4:45. Live First Alert Pinpoint Doppler radar is indicating this strong storm that is approaching North Liberty and Iowa City right now. It's in northwestern Johnson County. Here's the wording from the National Weather Service that just came out at 4 o'clock. At 3:57, radar indicated a severe thunderstorm capable of producing golf ball-sized hail. It's had a history of doing that, at least quarter size, and damaging winds in excess of 60. It's located near the Amanas, and that reminds me of a report I just received from West Amana. There was actually 3 inches of hail on the ground, on their yard. Now, I don't know the size of that hail, but either way, whether it was pea-sized or larger, it piled up to 3 inches in depth, like snow. Okay, so that was in West Amana. Again, going back to the wording here from the Weather Service, the storm right now, or at least as of 3:57, was located near the Amanas, or 11 miles east of Marengo, moving southeast at 32 miles per hour. You can expect this storm near Oxford at 4:05, Tiffin around 4:15, North Liberty 4:20, Coralville and Oakdale at 4:25. And now wording in from the Weather Service, trying to get a more specific time, Iowa City and University Heights. You can expect this storm that could have golf ball-sized hail and strong gusty winds at around 4:30. So you get about 25 minutes till the strongest part of the storm looks to be heading through the Iowa City and University Heights area. Again, 4:30 is the estimated time from the Weather Service that's going to be moving in. Also, Hills around 4:35. So again, looking at radar, we have a cluster of storms to the north of Dubuque heading into southern Wisconsin. Both of these storms are basically headed off to the east and southeast. Again, the storm now in northwest Johnson County, the official movement from the Weather Service, I'll say it again, is southeast now at 32. So it's shifted a little bit from the east to the southeast at 32 miles per hour. Large hail is a threat. Again, in West Amana, we had 3 inches of hail reported on someone's yard. Okay, so we're talking about a pretty good storm here. There's lightning with this storm. If we can bring that up. Lightning obviously is something you don't want to mess with. Get inside, stay away from those windows and doors. I know they've called off sandbagging for the moment in Iowa City with good reason. Heavy rainfall going to be a potential with this storm that's passing through, along with the gusty winds. This is going to be falling onto the Cedar River, if not already, and the Iowa River for that matter. Let's try to do a little X-Vision here. Okay, one thing we look at for hail, and I do want to say real quick before I talk about what's on the screen here, At 4:04, law enforcement in the Humana's reported nickel-sized hail and winds of 50 miles per hour. So one thing we look at radar is how high up some of that reflectivity goes, and you see some of the purples there going high up into the atmosphere. Okay, this is called X-vision we have here in the weather lab. But the higher that reflectivity goes, that's somewhat of an indication that large hail is up in that freezing part of the storm where it's below 32 degrees. It freezes, it coalesces, it makes larger hail, and that seems to be the case right now as we look at live radar. We'll get back out to the 2D view here so you're not confused. But right now, this storm that's in northwestern Johnson County approaching North Liberty and Oxford, it's near Swisher on the back side. A little bit west of Swisher, that's where, of course, the Humanas are into Iowa County. That's where the large hail has been reported most recently, and the storm is headed off to the southeast. We'll do a storm track here on live radar of where that hail could be strongest. Just show that to you here. And again, it's moving to the southeast. Let me just, at 32, so at 32 miles per hour, it's moving off to the southeast. North Liberty at 441, Oakdale 444, and Vernon at about 446. So that's where the hail is. The front edge of the storm is going to be in Iowa City quicker. I mentioned 4:30. That's going to be there probably around that time, the front edge, if not even sooner. The large hail and the heavy rain threat seem to be on the backside of the system, but lightning and rain could very well be starting up here before we know it, along with the gusty wind, if I didn't mention that. So Interstate 380 and 80 meeting up here, the front edge of the storm near Tiffin right now. If you're in this location, you definitely want to get inside. I don't know if we have our outdoor safety tips somewhere. Aaron will bring those up for us. But if you're outdoors, definitely get inside. Let's see here. We'll have that coming for you. But if you're outside, get inside. Stay away from those windows, strong gusty winds. Here we go. If you're outdoors, get as low as possible. Be aware of your surroundings. Watch for that flying debris and stay alert for flash flooding, which is another concern for this heavy rain that's going to be passing toward Iowa City near North Liberty, Solon, Oxford to the north, Tiffin, Shueyville, Swisher, Oxford. It's leaving the Humanas right now, but if you're in those locations, definitely want to get inside. What else can we show here? Yeah, show temperatures real quick if you're wanting to know why all this is happening. We have some, look at that. It's 66 right now in Vinton, out ahead of this cluster of storms. It's still in the 80s, so that's what's fueling the fire, so to speak. 80 right now in Iowa City. That's going to be changing here soon. 86 right now in Washington, 81 Mount Pleasant. But again, notice where it's raining, the storm has been and is. Vinton at 66, and the dew points are up there. 63 in Vinton, 55 Iowa City. Ample moisture. To get the really, really strong storms, you typically like to see dew points in the 60s, but sometimes you can get by with 50s, which seems to be the case right now. Back to the radar, we'll get a mileage from Iowa City where the hail threat is, and it seems to be, again, a little bit east of the Humanas in the northwestern portion of Johnson County. So as far as distance from the hail threat, right now it's about 16 miles northwest, 17 miles northwest of the Iowa City Coralville area. And again, it's headed to the southeast according to the Weather Service. So again, watching the storm very, very carefully. There could be some gusty winds as well. So Cedar Rapids not under a severe thunderstorm warning at this time. Benton County continues to be. And also up around the tri-state, we have some strong storms that are moving through. Some large hail and wind, also a threat in that location. So let's run through the warnings one more time, and we'll get back to the studio here in our live coverage of the floods of 2008. I will run through those for you. Again, Grant County, severe thunderstorm warning till 4:45, and we'll do a zoomed-in view for you there. This includes the cities of, looks like B-Town and Lancaster, Piazza and Platteville till 4:45. Next up, severe thunderstorm warnings. What do we have there? It looks like southeastern Clayton County till 4:15. Severe thunderstorm warning there includes Millville, Guttenberg, and Garber. Large hail and damaging wind. Next up, we have northern Delaware till 4:30, and we'll zoom in on the cities there. Dundee, Greeley, Colesburg, Edgewood, Delhi, Hopkinton, you're not included. And then on to the south, excuse me, Benton County till 4:30 includes much of Benton County, including Vinton down to Newhall, Norway, Atkins, Urbana, Garrison, to name a few, Keystone, and then Tama County, I believe. Well, you may have expired your severe thunderstorm warning, not showing up on this map, but watch out for a strong storm in that area. And again, the warning we're kind of talking about right now, it includes Iowa County, as well as Johnson County and east central Iowa until 4:45. Iowa City and Coralville, you are included in this, and the threat is for some hail that could be the size of golf balls, and also winds over 60 miles per hour, along with heavy rain and lightning. So here's the radar again for you one more time. That cell getting closer and closer to the Iowa City area. Let me just zoom in on that. So expect a storm in your vicinity here very shortly. Looks like another severe thunderstorm warning, I need to mention, I guess, just been issued for Benton, Buchanan, and Lynn. I'm guessing this is going to be northern Lynn County, an additional severe thunderstorm warning, and that's going to go until 4:45. There it is, right there on the radar, that polygon box that stretches from Central City back to east of LaPorte City. The wording on that is for northeastern Benton, northern Lynn, southern Buchanan, 4:45. Weather Service radar indicating storm capable of producing quarter-size hail. Winds over 60. The storm is located near Urbana, or 10 miles northeast of Vinton, and moving east at 37. The storm is going to be around Walker at 4:15, Center Point 4:20, Troy Mills 4:25, Paris and Coggin around 4:35, Central City 4:40, and Wabeek at about 4:45. So that's the latest wording from the National Weather Service. So a couple clusters of showers and thunderstorms, some of which are strong, happening right now over eastern Iowa, approaching North Liberty, Iowa City, and Coralville as we speak. So that's the latest from the TV9 Weather Lab. I know we have lots going on with the floods of 2008. Bruce and Beth, I know you're watching the wires very closely. It's raining, by the way, here in downtown Cedar Rapids. Anything new to report as far as closures and what have you?
Yeah,
roads?
We don't have any road closures right now, any new ones out of the Iowa City News Conference we were listening in on earlier. They have said that eventually they believe tonight they're going to have to close down the Benton Street Bridge, and then tomorrow likely the Burlington Street Bridge in Iowa City. And this could pose some challenges if people are trying to get to the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics there in Iowa City. If you need to get to the UIHC, and Benton and Burlington streets are both closed, here's how you have to get there. You must take Melrose from the west side of the community. We want to take you now to some video we have of the Mahaffey Bridge. This bridge is intact. There was some concern that it had gone down, but that is not true. There you can see it for yourself. The Mahaffey Bridge in Johnson County is still accepting traffic. It is still stable. It is doing fine at this time.
Yeah, we had even reported mistakenly the other day that it had gone, and a lot of people were very concerned and surprised when they heard that, but we just got... We live up in Lynn County, we have to admit, and we're trying to get as much help as we can to identify all of these places that we're not familiar with in Johnson County and Iowa City, and this is a direct route
from North Liberty
to Solon,
okay.
The Mahaffey Bridge, and so we needed to show people that this still is intact, but look at how high the water is there going underneath that bridge. This water just keeps rising, and we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. So we appreciate, actually, this was our general manager, John Phelan, who was involved in getting us this video today.
It is a group effort here at TV9 during this flood coverage. We want to take you now to the Iowa Library, and this is video from today, the Iowa Library on the University of Iowa campus, where they were able to successfully remove the books before the floodwaters rose. And if we could just take a look at the volunteers, they've been sandbagging, and let's take a listen first.
What we're trying to do is to get it up above where we expect the crest of the river to be, and so the idea is to build these so that they come up a foot or two higher than where the crest is expected to be. So this is what the engineers are telling us, and our best data coming from a variety of sources.
That was the professor of psychology, Michael O'Hare, on the U of I campus. Volunteers were sandbagging in the plaza between the University of Iowa's main library and the Adler Journalism Building. This is from just a couple hours ago when they were still sandbagging. They've had to suspend that effort because of severe weather that's moving into the area. They had a main staging area on Madison Streets. Trucks, bobcats, gator carts, even a John Deere tractor were continuously transporting the bags to the plaza. The volunteers have been working. It's described as it's feverish, their efforts to keep the two buildings water-free since about 11 o'clock this morning, but we have heard that there have been 11 buildings on the University of Iowa campus that have taken on water, and that massive sandbagging effort right around that brand new beautiful journalism building, they had to suspend it because severe weather was coming into the area, and there's a possibility that the waters are rising on the Iowa River, and they just thought that the situation was too precarious.
This situation down there, you know, the source of all this water that's coming down the Iowa River is, of course, the Coralville Reservoir, plus all the rain and everything else.
Clear Creek there.
And Clear Creek that's coming in as well, and even Clear Creek running into the Iowa River now and backing up somewhat and causing some flooding. And we want to give you a shot today of the Coralville Reservoir area itself, and this is the spillway again. Just an unbelievable volume of water that is going over that spillway, plus the additional water that the Corps of Engineers is releasing from the reservoir that is the natural area for releasing. And all of this moving downriver toward Coralville and Iowa City. And that is what, look at the water hitting that, I mean, it's just white rapids everywhere you look. The flow of this water, the force of this water is just unbelievable. So that's what's causing all of this preparation down in Iowa City. And we're getting calls from people wondering why we're not showing more flooded areas. It's getting to be many more streets are being closed. Areas in Iowa City, Beth just mentioned how they're going to be closing the Benton Bridge tonight, the Benton Street Bridge, the Burlington Street Bridge tomorrow. It's getting hard to get around down there in Iowa City and to get from one side of the river to another and to get to some of these areas. We're trying to do that. We also now have the severe weather moving in. Our live equipment down there, our live vans, have a mast that goes up in the air. When there's lightning in the area, we did not put that mast up in the air, so that is going to interrupt our live reporting capabilities, our live video, for a time until those storms move through.
But we do still receive all of the latest information from Iowa City via the news releases that they give to us. And we're going to break away from the Iowa City conversation for a moment. The autopsy is complete on the woman who was found dead in her southwest side Cedar Rapids home that was flooded, and I'd like to read you the information from that. We know the name of the Cedar Rapids woman who died during the flooding yesterday. They don't know if she died yesterday. Her body was found yesterday. Family members did discover 59-year-old Catherine Klubeck in her home yesterday. The Linn County Medical Examiner, Donnie Linder, just told us that he did the autopsy and her cause of death was not drowning. He says it was most likely a medical condition that came into play during the time of the flood, but he is considering her death flood-related. Family members hadn't heard from Klubeck in a while, and they asked emergency officials to please go check on her. And in her southwest Cedar Rapids home, they found her body face down in the water at the bottom of her basement stairs. They're going to run toxicology reports now, and when the slides return, they will then give more detailed analysis of what happened leading to her death. Again, 59-year-old Catherine Klubeck, who died yesterday, her body was found yesterday in her southwest side Cedar Rapids home. Her death has been declared flood-related, but it was not a drowning. They believe she had another medical condition that came into play during the flood.
We have had many calls from people also wondering, can we get to Czech Village in Cedar Rapids and show what has happened there with the flooding? That is another area that yesterday the current was just too strong for boats to get in, go across the river especially, and get into that area. But today, Claire Kellett is here now, and Claire, you were able to take a boat tour of the Czech Village residential area and the village itself today?
Certainly. It's a view that none of us really have seen yet, and you were talking about the rapids being so strong. We still weren't able to go all the way up to A Street there because the firefighters that we were with weren't allowing that, but we'll just kind of watch this video and we'll just kind of talk about what we're seeing here. Photographer Randy Dirks and I got in the boat at 19th Avenue Southwest and Bowling Street Southwest. Now, that's a view there of the firefighter that was leading our tour, and you have to commend them. At some points, they're working 72-hour shifts.
What?
At some point, yeah. You know, they're still having to do their regular firefighter duties as well, and then flood-related duties. So they are split down the middle here, but some of this, what are you looking at there? Johnny's Speed Shop there. I mean, most of these homes, what these firefighters were telling us is that most of the homes from C Street down to literally the river, if they don't have water in their second floor, they're lucky. that the water is
On
all the
the
way up
second
on the
floor.
second floor. We're not saying the first floor, we're saying the second floor. And these kind of things are, I mean, this is typical of what we're seeing, and it's really, I mean, you see the stop sign there.
This is today.
This is today. This was about
You
an
can see
hour
the water
ago.
line up in the
Certainly.
house there, yes.
But you know, the water lines can be deceiving because, I mean, you see some points it's 4 feet deep, some points it might be 8 feet deep. But on some of these places, I mean, you look down and you see dry land about a block or two down. So the firefighters are really talking about how deceiving it is and how they never noticed how the landscape is so different. But here's, is this down?
That's
yeah,
how
this
you
is
get in
downtown
there.
Czech Village,
Yep.
right there. There's the Maytag plant building there. This is about as far as they were able to take us to Czech Village. We weren't even able to make it all the way to the museum.
And you've got
for any
Polina's,
shots.
you've
Yeah.
got Chrome Horse.
Zindrix, there's Elle's Red Frog.
Yeah, the music
Zindrix
lot.
Restaurant.
See the music loft right there. I mean, all of these places. At this point, we're probably going about 2 miles an hour. I mean, this took very
And
long for us to get through.
The river crested at just a touch over 31 feet. This morning they were saying it was down to 29 feet. So this is, you could say this is roughly 2 feet lower than what the crest was. So
But again, on some homes, we saw maybe
Yeah.
like a 3 or 4 foot drop, and on some homes, maybe a foot drop, just depending on where you are. But see, this is kind of, if you just take a look, you can see barely, we're going to get a look of around this corner. This is where we're coming on. We're coming out on the B Street here. And we had to take a sharp turn. You can see how the boat moved so quickly. Because if we weren't able to kind of rev the engine a little bit, we wouldn't have made it around the corner.
Really?
We would have floated down to A Street. And when they hit A Street, you're in danger there.
Because of the current.
Because of the current. It's deceiving because you're looking at this video, you don't think it's very strong, but it really is. At one point, we got plastic wrapped around the prop, and we floated almost into a house as they tried to get the plastic off of the prop there. So it is, and you have to hold on tight because they just say, okay, hold on, here we go. Okay, now this is what I'm going to show you. You see the Czech Museum there in the
Yes.
background. This is about the only shot we were able to get as we round the corner. You see the Salvation Army truck there. But that's as close as we are right there. You could see just a little bit, the trees there. Yeah, Randy, you zoomed in right there. So that is the only shot. I mean, that's the closest we were able to get. See those homes right there? I believe we're going down B Street here, where we took that turn in Czech Village. But sometimes, I mean, we saw a porch wrapped up against a house. We were seeing Penford bags wrapped in trees from all the firefighters were pointing out the Penford bags that we were seeing. And I mean, you can see that, Bruce, and
Oh, my
that right there. That's why they're saying people are lucky if they don't have water in their second
Look at
story,
that.
just wrapped in there. You don't know where
It's your recycling.
And
any of
just
this
wrapped
stuff.
around
That's
the
what I
line.
was talking about. There's that porch there wrapped around the tree there. And I'm hoping Randy put it in there, but you see how close those power lines are?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I could lift my hand up in the boat and touch the power lines. Obviously wasn't doing that, but that's how close it is. That's someone's home there, their front porch.
This is really clear. The first chance a lot of people have gotten to see Czech Village since the waters really started rising on Thursday. So thank you to you and Randy for getting in that boat. It's not the safest thing to really to be looking
we
at this
had-
part of town.
Certainly, we had obviously our life vests on and everything. And it was amazing. Right, like I said, we got in at 19th Avenue Southwest and Bowling Street. There were cops that were yelling at people trying to drive through 4-foot water.
no, you're this,
Here's the Come and Go. That's the Come and Go gas station that's under there. And so, see, that's what I'm talking about right there. We are probably where we are. We're in about 5-foot deep water, 6-foot deep water, and you look down and you see that dry land.
What is
this
that?
a cool,
That's a freezer. See the Arctic Glacier?
Yes.
Yeah,
From
freezer.
like the Come and Go, it seems
From
like
somebody, yeah, and it just is down the road there. And
perhaps.
the firefighters were saying that's probably going to make that roof give way here because they didn't see that there this morning. But right there, that's where we got on. That's 19th Avenue Southwest and Bowling Street right there. And that's just kind of the clear shot that we have down the lane there. One of our cars is parked right there. But the firefighters were saying they did a check on somebody, a welfare check on somebody this morning in that area. There are still some
People in those homes.
Yes.
But they don't, so they're not taking them out, they just want to stay there, they're bringing them water?
They're trying to convince them
to leave,
get out.
to get out of there, yeah.
And they did go to one house they visited yesterday. They went back again today. It was an elderly woman. and she wasn't there. Apparently, it looked like her door was knocked out. One of her neighbors had gone back and said, "You have to go. You have to get out of here." It's just amazing.
Staying with your home and saving belongings is one thing, but when you see water like this, this is
They're scared.
saving lives.
I mean, they're scared. And,
yeah, granted.
but hearing you tell us that, Claire, makes me think that there's going to be the possibility of more
You don't know.
discoveries of bodies when the water goes down.
Certainly, and I talked to some guy who was 78 years old. He was at that point that we were at trying to get into the water, and of course, obviously, they're very restrictive on who can take the boat out with the firefighters because they're obviously busy doing their job as well. But he's saying he was 78 years old, and he's lived in Czech Village since 1974. Czech himself, obviously, heritage, and he was crying. He had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll hear sound from him later, but he had no idea if the entire community was going to rebuild.
And can we watch that again?
Yes, yeah, show that again. And looking at what you're talking about with this current, we hear occasionally about people who have gotten boats themselves and are trying to get into these neighborhoods. That is so dangerous, it's unbelievable, because you said if you had gotten down by A Avenue,
A Street there,
or A Street, I mean, you would have been gone. I mean, it would have taken you out probably out into the main river.
And we were right where we rounded the corner at Ernie's Bar and Grill, I believe that was the name of it, in Czech Village, there on the B Street. We had to rev up the engine, we had to hold on.
And they knew.
They do. And the thing is, they were, this was the second crew of firefighters directing the boat. The morning crew hadn't been able to make it to B Street. So this jump from A Street to B Street was a big deal for here in the afternoon. Like I said, I think photographer Randy Dirks and I were out there about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
So is this part of their patrols that they're still doing for these welfare checks and to get people out? They're doing this continuously.
Right, and right now they've reduced back. The firefighters said that
Okay, we're going to have to interrupt
Sorry,
you to
Claire.
go back to the weather lab now and Josh Baines for another update on the weather.
Yeah, Bruce and Beth, if you're there, we've been watching the radar very, very closely. Of course, we've been talking about the cell that's been strong. It started up in Marshall County through Benton and now into Johnson County. And we're watching very closely to the radar because we're almost starting to see a hook echo on the radar. Here's Iowa City and North Liberty and Tiffin. And when we say hook echo, if you've tuned in and watched weather before, our managing editor here. Of a tornado. Our base itself is a little bit high. That's meteorology, but there's this threat, we believe, for a tornado. We just want to watch. We're working hand in hand. As you can see for yourself, you can see very clearly this up around Coralville and Iowa City. It's just to the west of town. There is something out already for Iowa City, Coralville. Okay, much of Johnson County until 4:45, and alerting from the Weather Service and severe thunderstorm warnings related to tornadoes, and that's something. Again, no confirmation. It's closely on the radar, and I know the Weather Service is too. And since this is heading toward obviously a very populated area, we just kind of want to give you a heads up in case a tornado warning is issued. Again, there has not been one yet. There's not been one yet. Closely, again, the report from a spotter here at TV9 of rotation around the Highway 218 and Highway 1 intersection right down in this area. So he likely would have been looking a little north or northwest right here around at the edge of this hook. There very well could be rotation. It is showing up on radar. Let's look at the velocity back out a little bit. This coming from the National Weather Service, and this is a little bit old, the data, but it just shows with the cell, the reds and the green air going away, green going toward the radar in the Quad Cities of rotation, and now that cell is moved to the east. So there is a severe thunderstorm continue for Johnson County until 4:45, and the threat is for large winds. We've had reports recent, but in Coralville at 4:26, 4 minutes ago, passing through. So just kind of want to give you a heads up. You know, I definitely be inside and away from the windows from the cell that's passing through the area. There's this outside chance that we could be dealing with static activity from what we're seeing on the radar. Warning out at the moment, but since Coralville, in fact, it's pretty much in Coralville, and I want to play it safe and let you know about this. More reason to go ahead and get inside. So, of Johnson County on top of the Iowa River, it's heading toward the Cedar. We've had people wondering about Lynn. We have the Iowa City Hawkeye. Up if we can, or at least get it set up. Looking probably north, maybe, and pan a little bit to the west. That's of course the Iowa River flowing through Iowa. It's going to continue to be the crest is feet, we believe, on Tuesday, and that could very well be. And a wider view, just in funnel clouds, anything that would indicate a possible tornado. We'll go back to the radar. Maybe Master Control can kind of get that lined up there for us. People were just in here wondering about rapids in Iowa City. We have some heavy rain moving through. No warning out right now for Cedar Rapids area and into Benton County. The only one is for far northern Lynn County right now, and we ask warnings that continue for Grant County in southern Wisconsin. But again, just kind of wanted to just touch base with everybody in Iowa City and Coralville right now. No tornado warning, but again, we're just watching very, very carefully. We're starting to see some indication where there could be some tornadic activity in this area. If nothing else, some strong gusty winds. Again, the cloud base seems to be a little bit high, and for tornadoes, low base, and we may not have that in place in some areas, or at least it has here in the recent minutes of possible tornadic activity. Lightning, a threat. We got that up for you right now. Lightning, somewhat intense around the Iowa City area and sporadic up to the north through Cedar Rapids and toward the tri-state. But you know, lightning obviously is very dangerous and is not a good thing. So again, back to the radar, just watching very closely. The storm is now to the Iowa City Coralville area, and again, just indications of anything new. Yeah, let's check the Iowa City if we can. Well, some very strong wind, which goes right in line with what we're seeing on the radar. Severe thunderstorm warning continuing there. I don't know, maybe we can't move the Hawkeye. Looks like the sirens are going off, we hear, in North Liberty and Chewyville. It's because of the severe thunderstorm that is rolling through the area right now, putting out some large hail potentially, and the very, very heavy rainfall and gusty winds. So that's the situation right now. Of course, the river is another situation. I'll let the newsroom handle that in a moment. But again, just watching very, very carefully. Oh, looks like something coming. Yep, okay. But Iowa City and Coralville, watching very, very carefully. We may not be able to move our Hawkeye. We're looking at the river right now. But here, let's look at the river stages. If we, well, let's see. We're looking off to the north from our Hawkeye, I believe, right now. And so that hook that we're trying to get a handle on is a little bit off to the west of this area. Again, I understand we have Mark Geary on the phone. Mark, are you there?
Yeah, Josh.
Where are you and what are you experiencing?
We are driving through downtown Iowa City. We're trying to get down to the Iowa City Bureau. I'm hearing Bruce talk. I can't really. What we're seeing right now is we're seeing clouds overhead, lots of dark clouds, and the tornado sirens are going off as we speak. It's starting to rain a little bit. It rained a little bit heavier earlier, and now the rain is kind of dropped a little bit.
Okay. All right, Mark. Anything else to report at this time? I can hear you loud and clear. I'm watching a Hawkeye that we have on the screen right now, the Iowa
I'm
City
having a
Coralville
tough
Hawkeye.
time hearing you, Josh. I think you asked if there was anything else. The wind is starting to pick up. It is starting to rain here now, and the sirens are going off. We have some dark-looking clouds up overhead, and now the wind is really starting to pick up here very quickly, and we're actually trying to get inside to our bureau in the downtown Iowa City area. We're headed over that way. The rain is really starting to come down now. You can hear the sirens going off. Lots of people are running inside to try and take shelter here. And it's just kind of odd, Josh, maybe you might have a better understanding of what's going on here. Just directly over Iowa City, it's just big, black, kind of dark-looking clouds, and then when you look around in the distance, it's just a perfect clear blue sky.
Okay.
What would that be an indication of? Because it just looks like it's directly over Iowa City, but when you look off...
Well, the cell basically it only stretches to about Coralville, and west of their mark is actually some clearing. We're showing the radar right now on the screen, and the southern part of the cell is right over Iowa City right now, and you know there may be some dark-looking clouds, maybe some clouds that appear to be spinning. Again, no reports from law enforcement of any tornado on the ground. No funnel cloud reports at this point, no wall cloud reports, but the radar is just giving us a little indication of some rotation in the storm. We just kind of want to just come on the air and just let you know about this storm that's passing through Iowa City right now. It does stretch up north of Interstate 80, and there was actually a report from the Weather Service of quarter-sized hail at 4:32, and that was 5 miles northwest of Iowa City, according to a train spotter. Otherwise, we're getting pea-sized hail reports in North Liberty, and that happened at about 4:33. So again, we're looking at live radar. We're looking at our live Iowa City Coralville Hawkeye. Nothing real ominous showing up on the Hawkeye right now, just likely some heavy rain. There was some pretty strong wind, it appeared, at least a short time ago on the Iowa City Hawkeye. The camera not shaking so bad now, but nothing real imminent or threatening showing up on the Hawkeye. But the radar, again, just showing some indication of rotation. Again, as I was saying, the cloud base seems to be a little bit too high for tornadic activity, but we just wanted to just let you know about that. And again, we did hear from our newsroom, and we're getting it from other sources, that the sirens are going off in Iowa City. If nothing else, good idea for the threat of hail and wind and this very tiny outside chance of a tornado. So again, we'll zoom in a little bit closer to the Iowa City area right now. Some very heavy rainfall occurring, if nothing else. Coralville, things seem to be letting up for you at the time. So there's Coralville on the left side of your screen, the heart of Iowa City, still on the very southwest edge of the storm, and the heavier rain and potentially that hail do extend a little farther northeast towards Solon, heading towards West Branch right now, and heading to the east and southeast at about 30 to 45 miles per hour. I'll back out and show you some of these other cells that could have hail and wind. That includes a far northern Linn County, the cell right here that is near, at least north of Central City, passing over Highway 13 right now near Coggin, and also up in southwest Wisconsin. We do have some strong storms there that are heading off to the east, Fenimore, Lancaster, and Platteville under the gun there. So we'll kind of do a wide view one more time. Let's see here. Not much happening in the central part of the state. Everything is really focused in on east central Iowa. Let's see here. Just reading here from stuff from the National Weather Service and colleagues at other media stations. Mark Geary, are you there? Do you have anything else to report? Thought I was hearing Mark in the background there. Okay. Just kind of wondering if the rain is let up where he is in Iowa City. That would kind of match up with what's showing up on the radar. Still want to be in your safe area a little bit longer, at least inside and away from the windows. And then after that, we may be able to perhaps resume some of that sandbagging. Although a little southwest of Cedar Rapids here, we have this cell that still is putting out some heavy rainfall that could pass through the area. Maybe we get a loop of Iowa going there, Aaron, just to kind of see it's that cell a little bit west of Cedar Rapids right now. I'll try to get an idea of which way it's moving. That front cell, again, over Iowa City right now is diving off to the southeast. The one behind it seems to be trying to follow in the same direction, but there's no warning out for that cell, which is in Benton County right now. That's headed off to the southeast. So we may be able to resume sandbagging here before too long. Is Mark there yet? No? Yeah, Mark, are you with us? Mark Geary down in Iowa City? Okay, yeah, we understand the cell phone might be having some problems down there in that area. Looks like just more stuff coming here. Severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for Grant County in Wisconsin until 5:15, and the threat is for some of that large hail and wind. It looks like, at least according to our live radar, which again is getting sweeps from the cells, it looks like the heart of Iowa City, the rain is letting up or soon will be. Coralville, I think things are quieting down. Looking at the reflectivity here, I know we've been talking a lot about hail. There very well could be some hail northwest of West Branch, northeast of Iowa City. Some of that could be up to the size of golf balls, according to the National Weather Service. Mark Geary, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, how are things now? Looks like on the radar things might be starting to let up a bit.
Actually, it's kind of pouring rain here, Josh. It's kind of it starts to pour really hard rain, and then it kind of lightens up a little bit, and then it comes back again. Right now, you know, when you first asked me how it was doing, it was raining hard, and now it's kind of still lightened up a little bit. When we look up in the sky, lots of dark gray clouds. But like I said before, off in the distance, though, it looks like a perfect blue sky, like a wonderful day. But when you look directly overhead of us here in downtown Iowa City, lots of dark, heavy-looking clouds are right above us, and they do look like they're moving by relatively quickly. I don't see anything swirling from where I'm at, but they just look like they're moving by rather fast.
So talk about the rain, Mark. I'm guessing you didn't have a rain gauge in hand, but how would you describe the rain that fell or is falling?
Well, like it's very odd where like it's raining very hard and then it lightens up. Like right now, it's barely raining at all. Just very little amount of water. But 30 seconds ago, it was pouring down hard, so hard that if you were outside, you'd have been completely drenched. But now, if you were to walk outside, you know, you'd have a few raindrops on you, but you know, you'd be fine.
Did that cause any ponding of water, any flash flooding?
Not that I've seen. I haven't seen any of that. A lot of people, though, you know, in the downtown area, when they heard the sirens going off, you know, they were running inside of the businesses down here. Obviously, severe weather is on a lot of people's minds after everything that we've been going through in Iowa over the past few weeks and months. Right now, the rain has almost completely stopped at this point. It's barely raining at all, just kind of a light sprinkle. And the clouds are continuing. They are moving relatively quickly just overhead here. We're trying to get a camera set up out of our Iowa City Bureau so we can kind of show you what the clouds exactly look like. We have a couple of photographers working on that right now. So that might give you a better indication. But as I said, just lots of very large, dark clouds, and there are a few breaks. It's kind of interesting. It looks like a giant black cloud, and in the center, it's clear. Right in the middle of it, almost looks like a bright white light. Almost looks, I don't want to say like a giant donut, but that's kind of what it looks like. I don't know what that, do you know what that might mean, Josh?
So kind of in the middle of the storm, you see kind of a clearing area? Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? Well, that would indicate, and that's the reason why we wanted to pop on the air and let you know about this. You know, a lot of times in that clear area, that's kind of a region where air goes up into the storm, and around that clear area sometimes, in other words, a wall cloud, if it drops down, that's where we can see tornadoes. And the radar is indicating some rotation, and you know, just going by what you were telling me, that indicates there probably was rotation, but thankfully, as far as we know so far, nothing actually touched down from that
I'm
storm.
starting to see some rotation in that clear area, Josh, right now. It is kind of, it's moving kind of slowly, but it is kind of going around in a little bit of a circle. But moving slowly, but it is kind of doing that right in the center.
Yeah, and we had a report when the cell was over by Highway 218 and Highway 1 of rotation from Mike Bettine, who works here at KCRG TV9. He's probably seeing the same thing you were, and this thing probably rotated all the way across Iowa City. And, you know, we've had a few reports coming to our newsroom of funnel clouds, but nothing as far as a tornado goes. So that's definitely good news. The radar was indicating that there could be the rotation, and from what you're telling me, what Mike Bettine told me, that there probably was rotation. But I'll allude to that, you know, storm base, the height of the bottom of the storm was probably just a little bit too high for a tornado to touch down, which is great. We don't need any more damage, but the heavy rain did move through. Mark said, as you were saying, Mark, very heavy rain passed by. I do want to show you up there to the northwest. by Swisher and Fairfax. There's more rain up there. That storm is not under a warning, but heavy rain still a threat. It appears to be moving off to the southeast. So I'd say North Liberty and Solon and Swisher here momentarily, probably going to get some more rain that could be heavy. Iowa City, it's questionable. It may pass to your north, but it very well could be on top of you, and that would probably happen in about 15 minutes. Can we go to the Hawkeye again? You know, Mark was saying that off to the west there was some clearing, and I believe, just looking at the Hawkeye and from what I'm seeing on the radar, we're probably looking off to the east on this particular shot, or at least the northeast. And you kind of see that striation kind of in the middle of the screen there and the clouds. You know, that's probably where some of that rotation was, or is, that Mark was talking about. See that on the back side? Whoa, stop right there. Very good shot. Whoa. Here, go back right if you can. This is going right along with what we're talking about. This is the back edge of that cell. Here, let me bring that up for you. So on the radar, if you look at it, you kind of see that little somewhat of a hook indicating where the storm seems to be spinning and be spinning counterclockwise. Then you go back to the Hawkeye and you can see kind of on the back edge, that's where some of that rotation very well could be. And if we go a little bit more right, you know, we see the heavy rain, probably some hail in there as well. But there's a little bit of a lowering where there could be a wall cloud, but you know, from what I can see here, no tornado on the ground. That's just at least looking from our Iowa City Coralville Hawkeye. And I do want to mention there are no tornado warnings out, but there are severe thunderstorm warnings that do continue for Johnson County till 4:45. And it's we're getting word from the newsroom, or the newsroom's University of Iowa Hawk Alert System was activated, and they're saying there was a tornado warning. So as far as we know, let me just double check. There has not been a tornado warning issued for Johnson County from the National Weather Service. I'm just double checking everything here. Yeah, so, you know, I'm not exactly sure why the University of Hawkeye alert system was activated. It very well could have been for just this strong storm passing through. Apparently it sends text, email, phone calls to students, and they are saying, students and staff, and they were saying there was a tornado warning. So again, as we've been talking about all along, and I mentioned right away when we went on the air here that there was not a tornado warning, but indications on the radar that we could have some rotation. So I don't know exactly what sparked that. Again, Weather Service did not put out a storm or a tornado warning, but we just wanted to be careful as this passed through Iowa City. So around West Branch and West Liberty, heading toward Tipton, this cell is still with you and still has, you know, probably packing a punch with some of that hail and wind. So things are quiet in Iowa City right now. Let's kind of run through the warnings real quick, and we'll send it back to our news coverage. A severe thunderstorm warning continues for Grant County, Wisconsin, until 5:15, and that includes several of the cities there you see on your screen, including Fenimore down to Platteville. And additional warnings, we have the one that continues right now for portions of Johnson County. We'll bring that up on the screen there. Looks like eastern Johnson County, Cedar County till 5:30, Johnson again till 5:30, and Muscatine till 5:30. A severe thunderstorm watch does continue, by the way, for much of eastern Iowa up toward the tri-state, and that will go until 7 o'clock later on this evening. Back to radar one more time. Again, just showers and thunderstorms spread across eastern Iowa right now. Heavy rain and potential. Cedar Rapids, Marion, not under a severe thunderstorm warning of any kind right now, but there is rain and lightning in the area. May want to just keep it indoors for a little bit longer. Back out just a little bit more if you could there, Aaron. Just want to show you that central Iowa and the north central part of the state not really experiencing showers and thunderstorms at the moment. So there's a decent chance that once this stuff gets through, that's going to be it for the night. Here's another view. Those dark clouds. Okay, this is from our Iowa City newsroom shot, I understand, and boy, very scary looking clouds, you might say, and I'm assuming we're looking off to the east of Iowa City. And again, no tornado warning at the time, but definitely some rotation in the skies, making these clouds look very ominous. And again, the threat seems to have passed Iowa City for the moment, but there are showers and storms in the northwest part of Johnson County that could be passing through here before we know it. So unfortunately, you know, an afternoon of showers and thunderstorms that we definitely do not need here in eastern Iowa and also the tri-state with the flooding that we have going on right now in Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, and other locations in eastern Iowa. So I think I've talked long enough for now. I'm sure, Bruce and Beth, you've gathered all kinds of information since we last talked, and I want to send that back over to you and see what you guys have.
Yeah, one of them, Josh, is while that pouring rain was coming down, people were emailing us like crazy, get buckets outside and catch as much of that rain as you can.
You should have butt in and said something. Very good idea
I should have,
to flush the toilets. You know, Cedar Rapids, I believe, is the only place right now where we're restricted on the water.
It sounds like some people were doing that, though, so every little bit helps. We even got one email from a woman who said her cousin went outside fully clothed in the pouring rain and washed her hair.
I was going to say,
her hair and everything.
My wife emailed, she's like, can I take a shower? I'm in my swimsuit. And I said, no, because there could be lightning. But
okay, on the whole, make your toilet flush with rainwater. Will you explain it, how you do it?
Well, it's a simple thing. You just take off the tank
back.
and fill up the tank with whatever water you have, but turn off your the water supply.
Where's that on the toilet?
It's down underneath
the little
the little
bump
knob down there. You just
turn that thing in the back.
Yeah, you just turn your water off so you're not filling your tank again from the city water supply.
Okay.
So you want to do that, and then all you have to do every time you flush the toilet is just take a bucket, fill the tank on the toilet again. You don't even really have to fill it all the way to the top, but just enough water to have the pressure that will flush the toilet.
Can you believe we're talking about this?
I know, but it's...
But we need to.
Really, yeah. And I should have interrupted Josh. He was extremely busy there, though, getting that information out about the storms and stuff. But every little bit helps with the water situation in Cedar Rapids. So, I mean, I know some of you, many of you, I hope, were able to take advantage of just running outside with buckets and catching as much of that as you can. It's... sounds like we're moving backwards toward
caveman times.
Another century. But
can we look at the actual Mahaffey Bridge footage from Johnson County?
Right.
We want to explain. We're getting information in pretty quickly, and a lot of our video is on the same tape, and we had the wrong bridge just before.
Why don't you grab that microphone there?
This is the Mahaffey, right?
John Phelan, our general manager, was down shooting this video today, and John, you can tell us. You can even hold it if you want.
We got it.
We're looking at Mahaffey Bridge here, which crosses the reservoir north of North Liberty, between North Liberty and Solon. And we had heard rumors that the bridge was down, so we wanted to go see if that was true, and this is what we found. The water was right to the top level of the bridge. Bridge is definitely closed, and the water was rising rapidly when we were there about 2 o'clock.
Okay. Now, what we were confused on, the other bridge we were showing looks quite a bit like this, but that is actually North Dubuque Street.
Yeah, we got video from 3 different places today. Mahaffey Bridge first, then we were fortunate enough to go and get video from the spillway, and then we also shot video at on North Dubuque Street, just north of Interstate 80, where the bridge crosses the Iowa River.
And the Mahaffey Bridge is something that people would be familiar with in the county, in Johnson County. It's more of a county road, not an Iowa City or Coralville road. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, people in North Liberty and Solon would use it almost every day.
Now, somebody also emailed us and said, well, we saw that with the North Dubuque Street Bridge there, how high the water is on that bridge, and that was still open in the video that we had, but they said it looks like that one could be closing.
Yeah, it's still open. They had the signs ready to go to say road closed when we were there, but at that point, this was probably about 3 o'clock, that bridge was still open, but the water was rising rapidly.
And John Phelan, the general manager of our news station, is helping us out because you are from the Iowa City area. This is the Dubuque Street Bridge.
Dubuque Street.
Now.
North Dubuque Street.
Okay.
Yes.
North Dubuque Street, north of I-80.
Okay.
This leads to the water plant?
It does. In fact, part of the video you saw like a pump house that was submerged underwater. That leads to the new Iowa City water sanitation plant.
Okay.
And what's the status on the North Dubuque Street? Or bridge?
It's still open,
okay.
But again, water rising rapidly, and I saw signs there saying, road closed, but they hadn't gone up yet.
Okay. And
that's the shot of the Iowa City water sanitation, and that's the Dubuque Street Bridge.
And
so you can
look
see
at how high the water is there on that bridge.
And it was coming up quite rapidly while we were there.
And you said you took this around 2 o'clock this afternoon?
Yeah, it's probably closer to 3 o'clock by the time we got there.
And this, now we've just had this massive storm system move through again, and it's just adding insult to injury with all of this extra rain falling on an area that's just seeing massive flooding too. So.
Yeah. The shots from the spillway were just incredible. I remember being a kid growing up there when they opened up that facility and getting a tour as a Boy Scout and telling us how they had engineered it to make sure that the water could never, ever go over that spillway. And what I saw today was just incredible. Probably 4 feet deep going over the spillway.
And it is not done
It's
rising.
not, no.
It's Tuesday.
That
It's Tuesday
water is
morning.
coming faster every hour now.
It'll crest.
And now we just saw this huge storm move right across the Iowa River Basin with all of that water again going into the Coralville Reservoir. Here's what you shot today.
Yeah. So we were fortunate now where we have water receding in Cedar Rapids. The folks in Iowa City are not as fortunate, and hate to say it, but it is going to get worse before it gets better down there.
Mm-hmm.
We just received word too, Beth.
We had the sirens going off in the Iowa City area, but there was never a tornado warning. It was strong winds.
Yeah,
so we just want to reassure the people there that it was strong winds, not a tornado warning in the Iowa City area, although Mark Erie is reporting the sirens were going off. And anytime sirens go off, it creates that sense of panic in a community.
And the university had used its Hawkeye notification system too to get the word out about a potential. And at this point, whenever we are seeing storms like this, tornadoes are a possibility, as Josh was telling us, and things. So it's getting to just be precautions. Take cover and get out of those storms. And we have another weather warning now, so we're going right back to Josh Baines. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, Bruce, Beth, and John. Yeah, a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for south central Lynn County and also northern Johnson. Let's go to the radar and let me read off the new warning here. It looks like it does include Iowa City. Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for northern Johnson County and south central Lynn until 5:30. Weather Service radar indicated a severe thunderstorm capable of producing nickel-sized hail and damaging winds over 60. The storm is located near Swisher, or 11 miles south of Cedar Rapids, moving east at 36 miles an hour. You can expect this thunderstorm, according to the Weather Service, 6 miles north of Oakdale, 7 miles north of Coralville at around 5:05, and Solon, and 8 miles north of Iowa City, and 9 miles north of University Heights around 5:10. So again, the threat is for nickel-sized hail and winds that could be over 60 miles per hour. So the storm is located around Swisher. It's moving off to the east at 36 miles per hour with that nickel-sized hail. We'll go and do a storm track on this area that could have that larger hail. Again, moving off to the east pretty quickly. So Shueyville around 5:04. So within minutes, 5:10. Twin View Heights and Solon around 5:19, according to our storm track. So it looks like, according to what we see on the radar and also wording from the Weather Service, that the strong part of the storm, the hail and wind, will surpass Iowa City, but some of this rain could clip down and perhaps hit Iowa City. And obviously, we don't need any more rainfall, but that's kind of what we have right now on live First Alert Pinpoint Doppler radar. There is a severe thunderstorm warning that has been out and continues right now. It looks like that's into southern Cedar and also Louisa County in east central Iowa. And we have additional warnings that, again, do continue up in southwest Wisconsin. A few small polygon boxes there, and the threat is for likely some of that hail and wind. So severe thunderstorm warning out for south central Lynn County as well as Johnson County. And if you look at the box real close with me, this does not include Cedar Rapids. This does not include Cedar Rapids, but out near the airport and to the south to Swisher, almost to North Liberty, right in the middle here. This cell is moving to the east, could have nickel-sized hail and strong wind. It looks to be headed towards Solon. Right now, Iowa City is not included in this, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it and let you know if it does threaten Iowa City and Coralville as we head through the coming minutes. So that's the latest from the Weather Lab. Bruce and Beth, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you very much, Josh. We're going to turn now back to Iowa City with TV9's Steve Nichols, who's in our Iowa City Bureau with the latest there. Steve?
Beth, hopefully that shot was awesome. We were just switching our shot around here for you. Again, things looked up. The weather, as I think Josh was just talking about, it sounded like he was saying we're not expected to get hit by this next little round of storms in Iowa City, and the weather has really started to clear up. The direction that I am facing, I can see a lot of heavy clouds, but right behind those clouds, it is bright, very bright out. So and looking behind me where the storm may come, it looks like there's more clouds. So I'm not exactly sure what will happen, but Josh will keep us informed with that. I want to show you some video that we got earlier today of one of the areas that was first shut down when the water started coming, and that's Dubuque Street, South Dubuque Street, heading up toward Interstate 80. And there is a big church that's over there, Parkview Church, that is on the corner of Dubuque Street and Foster Road. Foster Road has been evacuated. Dubuque Street is closed. There's Mayflower Dorm over there was evacuated. And so you can see the water and how high it is going up to the church. It looks like it's going up in the windows. This is I think we're looking at right now, houses on the Foster Road area. That's that peninsula that goes out to the dog park. And you can just see how high the water is. And I'm looking at a monitor, but I'm having a hard time seeing it. It looks like the water is really getting high on those trees. And this right now is Dubuque Street that you're looking at. That is basically ground level. You can see the yellow line right there of the road, and the water just gets a lot deeper, a lot faster. So that is this morning. That was earlier this afternoon. That video was taken, and that area, if you remember, Dubuque Street. I want to say, I'm kind of losing track of the days, but I want to say it was technically a week ago, more than a week ago, when Dubuque Street was actually first seeing some water, and they finally closed that down. It was maybe early this week when they were sandbagging the Mayflower Residence Hall and evacuating everybody out of there. And since that time, I remember seeing it where there was just one lane of traffic had a little pool of water in it, and now there is no sense that the river is there. It looks much more like a lake at this point, and it's just vast as it goes all the way over to Mayflower Residence Hall on what would be the east side and over to the west of Parkview Church. And it's unfortunate that church, there was so much work going on over there. They had, it's a big church, and just by judging by the size of it, I can only imagine how many people are in the congregation. So you have all those people working to sandbag around the church, and then you had the Foster Road neighborhood, that community of homes out there, where they worked to put up sandbags, and they were thinking, well, in part, if we can block the church, we can block almost the entire neighborhood. That could have possibly been one line of thinking there. But the water has clearly gone over most of the sandbags. I remember being out there earlier. We could see a little bit of what was going on, just a little tip of the sandbag, but for the most part, the water has completely gone over it. So you can only imagine that in that church, all that hard work, days and days of hard work building sandbags and trying to build a wall to protect the church. And I'm sure at this point now there's, I would have guessed, several feet of water inside that church, and that's got to be devastating for everybody who's a part of that congregation and goes to that church. And my understanding, what I've heard, is that tomorrow church services for Parkview Church will be held, I believe, at West High School. I'll need to get that confirmed, but that's my understanding, is that services tomorrow morning will be at West High School. And it's interesting, West High School has become kind of the center point for a lot of different activities. The University of Iowa Theater Department is going to have its summer reps program there, 3 different performances there starting in a week, assuming that doesn't get canceled at this point. There's a lot of other things going on at West High School where people are just kind of packing up and moving there. There's no real risk of it being flooded. And so hoping to have some sense of normalcy throughout the summer if possible. Some of Iowa City is really known for its Summer of the Arts program and a lot of different arts events going on. So trying to move some of that over with the University of Iowa over to West High School and hopefully have some sense, like I said, some sense of normalcy going on at West High School here in Iowa City, because we were talking, we had a press conference, I think we played some of this for you, with Iowa City leaders, and somebody asked the question, how many weeks before we're close to getting back to normal? And Mayor Regina Bailey half-jokingly said, weeks, try months.
Yes, and she's right.
So they could be, who knows, September, October, November, who knows at this point before it's all cleared out and the water's gone and there is some sense of return at that point.
Steve Nichols in Iowa City, thank you very much.
We have some more information about what's happening down in the Columbus Junction area. Authorities have now ordered evacuations in Fredonia and parts of Columbus Junction and also Columbus City, as all of this water from the Iowa River and the Cedar River are heading down to that area. The rivers merge just north of those towns. They've sandbagged very heavily down there, but Iowa Homeland Security is saying the evacuations came this morning because the water is projected to be higher than they earlier thought it would be. All of Fredonia's roughly 250 people have been ordered to get out of that town. A shelter is now set up northeast of town at the Louisa Muscatine Middle School. The evacuation in Columbus Junction and Columbus City is along the levee there and low-lying areas downtown. And a water treatment plant has now been shut down as a precaution. Voorhees says that's Brett Voorhees from the Iowa Homeland Security. He says authorities are working to make sure there's enough drinking water for those towns. But we heard earlier that there had been a breach in the levee around the water treatment plant in Columbus Junction, and they only had a 24-hour supply of drinking water for the community. So we're hoping that somehow they're going to be able to restore that plant operation. But this crest in Columbus Junction is not expected to come until Monday. And you see the water rising in Iowa City. You've seen all of this on the Cedar River going through Cedar Rapids and now moving south, and all of that is converging on the Columbus Junction area.
Higher on the Cedar River, more north in the Waterloo area, because of the recent rains that we've received today, there has been a voluntary evacuation from the Waterloo area, from East 11th Street to the Waterloo-Evansdale city limits, and from Franklin Street to the Cedar River. Again, in Waterloo, from East 11th Street to the Waterloo-Evansdale city limits, and from Franklin Street to the Cedar River. This voluntary evacuation in Waterloo came out. It did come out a couple of hours ago. They're saying that the floodwaters in the area are not subsiding as quickly as expected, and the recent rainfall is creating a problem in those areas in Waterloo.
This concerning presidential disaster areas. President Bush is in Paris today, but his press secretary, Dana Perino, says that he is staying up to speed on what's happening here in the Midwest. And that's an interesting point, because this flooding is not confined just to eastern Iowa. It's spreading through a good section of the Midwest. These are the areas that the president has already declared as federal disaster areas.
That's that
list, is a list of, at least 18 counties throughout eastern Iowa and some down there in southern Iowa. We can probably be safe to say that there will be more coming. And this is going to set up a system through FEMA for people to get assistance. And the disaster assistance for individuals can include grants that will help with temporary housing and home repairs, grants for disaster-related expenses that are not covered by insurance, so many of those. Also low-interest disaster loans from the U.S. Small Business Administration for homeowners, renters, and also business owners, and that will help cover residential and business losses, again, not fully compensated by insurance. And so much of this is not covered by insurance.
So if you find that you do have flood damage to either your home or your business, and you're in one of the counties we have listed on the screen here, you need to call this number to reach FEMA and register. The number is 1-800-621-3362. It's right there at the bottom of your screen, 1-800-621-FEMA. They'll get you registered, and then they will, later on, FEMA will be working with the state, and they're actually doing that right now, to set up sort of different places in those counties where you can meet with a FEMA representative face-to-face, bring them your receipts of any debt you've incurred, any money you've had to spend because of this flooding, maybe for hotels, maybe to replace a vehicle, and you bring that to FEMA, and then they will help you with the reimbursement process. But we cannot urge you enough to call that number, 1-800-621-FEMA, if you're in these counties that have been declared presidential disaster areas. There are more counties that will likely be declared presidential disaster areas. Cedar County is one in particular that comes to mind. So if your county is not yet listed, please be patient. They're still assessing the damage in your area.
Okay, we had a news conference with Lynn County and Cedar Rapids officials earlier this afternoon. We had hoped to show that, but in its entirety. We were going to join it live, but we've had all of this weather hitting us this afternoon, which has kind of interrupted everything. And Dave Franzman is back from that news conference now. And Dave, we need to know the vital information they were putting out this afternoon.
Well, let's fill you in on some of the things that you didn't get on the air, including a scorecard, the latest economic stats and the size of the impact of the flooding. And let's go out to, this is Dave Koch, who is the spokesperson for the fire department, also been spokesperson for the city. Here are the latest figures that we're talking about in terms of how big this flood impact is.
The size of the area is estimated at 9.2 square miles. There's roughly 12 city blocks on average, which amounts to over 1,300 city blocks that have been affected and covered by the floodwaters.
Again, that was Dave Coach, the spokesperson. You heard him say 3,900 homes in the city impacted, 9.2 square miles. That is 1,300 city blocks. You know how long a block is.
Oh, yeah.
Put them back to back to back, and that's 1,300 total. They did give us some information that I'm not sure if the weather people have had this on the river levels. 27.79 feet at the time of that news conference. That was 3 o'clock. It has dropped 3.3 feet since the crest yesterday, so obviously it's going down fairly quickly. We've noticed that. You had mentioned earlier about some of the businesses that they did not allow them to continue to inspect downtown. They restarted that at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and that was for I don't have the exact dimensions, but it was for a specific area downtown, and they were meeting at the 3rd Avenue Parkade Skywalk.
Yeah.
So now they should be back doing some of those inspections.
A lot of those people really they want to get back in because so many are on the second, third, fourth, fifth floors of those buildings, and they can get information and equipment and files and move and relocate somewhere else to continue their operations.
I just found that press release from the Cedar Rapids Fire Department about which businesses and which areas of downtown will be allowed to go back in to retrieve information. It is essential downtown business owners located between the railroad tracks to the Cedar River and A Avenue Northeast, south to 8th Avenue Southeast. So again, any businesses located between the railroad tracks to the Cedar River and A Avenue Northeast south to 8th Avenue Southeast.
That's a pretty good size area.
Yes.
Yeah.
They may retrieve essential equipment only is what they're saying, starting at 4, well, it's going from 4 to 6.
It's on now.
It's on now, so
right.
hurry. From 4 to 6, park at the Parkade, over at the 3rd Avenue Parkade.
They'll be escorted?
Yes,
escorted.
Yes.
They also mentioned they will be using gas detection equipment because the earlier problem was the gas leak, signs of gas leaks. I also want to mention about people getting back into the flood areas. We mentioned about a perimeter system that they're going to establish with checkpoints. We got a little more information about that this afternoon. Again, as we had told you earlier, it will be you go to a central point for your sector, and I think they've divided the floods into 10 different sectors, so that would imply 10 different check-in points. You'll check in there and then either be escorted or allowed to go on your own. We're not going to know about the details, though, until tomorrow. So apparently sometime tomorrow morning is the latest as to when they might start doing that. And again, in the meantime, they're urging people to stay out of that. And of course, they'll be giving us that information, and we'll get it to you just as quickly as we can. But you'll have to, there was actually, I might not be able to find it, but they have had a website, so we'll try and get that for you a little bit later. They're trying to, on a city website, and we'll have to listen and get the exact location of that. But you can go on and then look up your address, and that will tell you which sector you're in, and then that would tell you then where to go to get access to your particular property.
We can probably put that together, too, that we will have when we get that information on exactly the locations.
We'll get that to you. It'll take a little while. We're talking 3,900 homes.
So just so people know, if you have a flooded area, your home or your mostly residential area, the city's going to let you know through the media tomorrow morning where you go to check in so you can go see your home. This is not, we get a lot of emails saying, where's the check-in point? I want to go now. They haven't set it up yet. But as soon as they do and communicate it to us, we will tell you.
And this is only going to be in areas where the water has receded enough that they feel it's safe for people to go back to those
I believe that they have teams of fire police and others who will look over the homes first and determine if it's safe to enter and then allow you to enter. So there's a process of, apparently if some homes are so badly damaged it's structurally unsafe to go in, they're not going to let you go in. So that's going to take time to do that. So they're urging patience. Another important thing that came out that did not make the air is they have now decided on where to put a number of city offices and how the city is going to operate while this crisis is going on. And now let's hear from Chris Julik, who's one of the Cedar Rapids City Council people, about that.
And as I sat down a couple hours ago to put together these comments, I couldn't come up with any words to describe what's happened to our community. My heart goes out to those people who've been displaced by this emergency and disaster. I represent District 1, but I also represent the entire city as a council member. All citizens of our community have been affected and are being affected by this event, whether physically or emotionally. Thanks to the thousands of volunteers that we've had help out, our work, unfortunately, is far from being done and just beginning. The city's been in a crisis management mode for the past several days. This will continue in the near future. Over the past few days, the City Council has had to deal with this crisis management, and now we are focusing on what I call recovery, rebuild, and recast. First, recovery. We are taking actions to assure that the delivery of the most critical services, police, fire, water pollution control, solid waste, public works, and communications. It is imperative that these basic services continue to be delivered at the highest possible level. Plans are being made to have the police department be relocated Monday to 4200 C Street. It's an MCI building, former MCI building. They have been sharing 911 communications with the Marion Police Department and will continue to do so until the city system is back in operations, which we hope to be soon. Police should be able to get back into their facility within the next few weeks, we hope. Fire equipment has been relocated throughout the community and at other stations. Fire personnel, administrative personnel will be relocating to Westdale Mall, and Westdale is donating the space. Others locating to Westdale Mall are the assessors and enforcement divisions, housing, parking, transit. The library staff are also going to be located at Westdale. The water treatment facility is being assessed, or water treatment is being assessed. Plans to get access to additional wells as soon as possible. And seeds. They are remaining in their current location. Water pollution control is focusing on preventing backups in residences and will be working to get completely back online once the water levels drop. To deliver services in all areas that are critical importance as we remove of debris that will collect. They are temporarily locating. Works intends to relocate back as possible and continue their work, but temporarily will be located at Jefferson High School along with a remote location for general at River Ridge Road northeast on owned property. This location will also serve as City Hall operations, City Manager's office, Community Development, the City Clerk's office, the City Attorney's, Finance, Human Resources, Safety, and the Treasurer, along with Library Administration.
And again, that was Chris Julich, one of the Cedar Rapids City Council members. The City Manager's office, the main part of City River Ridge Road. Now that's an office building. It's located behind the restaurant on 42nd Street Northeast. In to view the damage that are established around the perimeter, you will within the area. So no spec that particular area with your homes will have been inspected sound enough that you can go in and assess and salvage at that time. Let's talk a little of the power. We had some 7,400 customers still core downtown area, so they it's a nibbling away at the area that's considered a flood zone. Although downtown's a separate issue because it's a bringing in a new substation. We're mentioning the Iowa National Guard is transporting 240,000 pounds. It's going to have to bring that in as the anything about highways, the limit is
Of
4
highway.
times overweight, so it's not the...
Move here too quickly.
No,
either.
not
Yeah,
too quickly. Of course, they might have some concern about the bridges too,
Right.
but the transport's extremely. Information coming out soon. I'll run those down that real quickly. That able to get back into your home, you can. You must have a licensed electrical inspector take a look at your home to make sure the power can be turned back on. If you're not, then they will call for the city inspectors. The city will then inspect it, and then after the inspectors will then notify Alliant in the power. It's a complicated steps, but that's to ensure the home, turn it on. There's some electrocution. Another Peter Tian was mentioning that and 50,000 liters of water are being trucked in. So if you need fresh donated or from the stores with the bottled water, 2 locations on that. Old Von Mauer store, another place to pick up water, and perhaps later then I think they have some of those MRE. Also then the locations for water distribution. Red Cross, still 2 shelters set up in Cedar Rapids at the Viola Gibson Elementary School on the far northeast side and at Prairie High School in the district. There was all about the water situation. Now, we told you a little bit earlier about the critical situation with the water. Nothing new was disclosed this afternoon about whether or not they're going to be able to get more water online from some of the wells that we've mentioned earlier, that the river has dropped enough fields to assess as to whether to pump more water into the system. They say tomorrow at 10 o'clock, that's when we'll hear about the time. They're still putting out that call for restaurants, laundromats, things like that. The new in terms of a situation where they're not able to produce enough water compared to what's getting consumed, but they did notice a drop during the day. It's just taking hold. People are trying. Didn't give us any figures of how close it was narrowing, but being under the amount that they're
Eating this water, if people can get out there and take advantage of what's
It's still, the city has not forced any businesses begging people.
No, it's been voluntary. Heavy industrial water users, food would be involved in that. Large amounts of water. That
we do get inquiries from people why the city doesn't demand these businesses. They're just not
time. And also, I mean, they have put out the call. You don't want to knock people out of business if you don't have to. Bad things would happen, so you have to the need to have enough water. And
That will happen in 3 to 4 days if we're not successful. 4 days is what
3 or 4 days is the amount of storage that is keeping the pressure. The system doesn't have enough point, and they didn't say what the point is. It's dictated by health statistics. And under the belief that other outside is boiling. So if you get to that point, it means you have to boil the water before you can that, the next thing would be losing water service to some parts of the city. Again, parts of the city, it's a gravity-type system, elevations, and the pressure drops service first. Ironically, again, keep the water service probably the longest would be in the lowest areas, and that would be the places that are flooded.
Off camera this morning about the water system in Cedar Rapids that has been shut down, or actually like pumping stations, and each serves a number of wells.
We've said wells, but you might more accurately call it a well
I'm
field.
sorry, I have to cut you off. We have to go to Josh Baines in the
More
weather lab.
weather.
There's a new warning. We'll get back to you.
Yes.
Yeah, guys. Warning now for portions of Johnson County, and it looks like it's going to go until 6:15. Again, the concern, as it has been all afternoon, is for large hail and damaging winds. So let me read off exactly what the Weather Service is saying. This particular warning, again, going until 6:15 for portions of Johnson County. I think it does include extreme southern Lynn County, but not Cedar Rapids at this point. I do understand. I had some calls of pea-sized hail falling in Cedar Rapids. That's not considered severe by government standards, but probably something you just want to stay inside for. But again, waiting for my text to pop up here with the wording on this new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for Johnson County. I guess I could show you this graphic first. It's the polygon box on the north side there. On the north side, it looks like that's the old one. Okay, well. Let's go back to radar. Okay, here's the wording from the National Weather Service. It looks like severe thunderstorm warning out till 6:15 for southern Cedar, Johnson, much of Johnson, Muscatine, and also toward the Quad Cities, Scott County, if you tune in there. At 5:21, Weather Service radar indicated a severe thunderstorm capable of producing golf ball-sized hail and damaging winds over 60. The storm is located 9 miles east of Iowa City, moving southeast at 37. Another storm is over Wilton. That's moving east at 35 miles per hour. So you can expect this 6 miles northeast of West Liberty around 5:35, at Alyssa 5:40, Wilton 5:50, and Durant at about 6 p.m. So again, that's a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued by the Quad Cities National Weather Service. We've had reports of winds, some very strong wind gusts out there. Let's see here. 3 miles east of Iowa City, a train spotter reported a wind gust of 60 miles per hour. So it's all part of the system that's kind of U-shaped here that stretches from North Liberty through Iowa City over to West Branch. And the strongest part of the storm right now that could have the hail is right around West Branch. You can see some of the purples there showing up on the radar. Very strong storm there. And it looks like there is an additional severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued for Cedar, Jones, and Lynn. Let me get the wording on that from the National Weather Service. Lots of polygon boxes popping up here. But this is the one that does include Lynn County and much of Johnson. Let's get the wording on that. It's going to be just a second. I would like to show real quick if I could. Let's go to this. While we're waiting for that to pop up. Earlier we were on because of what we thought might be a tornado in Iowa City. It was not a tornado warning, I mentioned that. It was a severe thunderstorm warning. There was rotation showing up on the radar. Somebody sent us a picture from southwest Iowa City, and right there in the middle, you see that kind of lowering. That's why we were on the air, because wall clouds or rotation like that can at times drop tornadoes, and that's why we wanted to go on, play it safe, just let you know that things were not looking good on the radar. And as you can see there, some of the lowering in the clouds, and from what we understand from various people, including people that work here, TV9 trained in weather spotting, there was rotation in that cloud. So there was concern earlier, and there's now concern in eastern Iowa, in Johnson County. All right, I think I have the wording here for this additional severe thunderstorm warning. This is out for northwestern Cedar, southern Jones, and southeastern Lynn. This is going to go until 6 o'clock. Weather Service radar indicates a severe thunderstorm capable of producing nickel-sized hail and winds over 60. The storm is located near Marion and Cedar Rapids, moving east at 43 miles per hour. You can expect this storm, the strongest part of it, 6 miles south of Springville around 5:35, Lisbon and Mount Vernon, as well as Martell around 5:40. Mechanicsville and Morley around 5:50, Stanwood, Olin, and Clarence around 6 o'clock. So if you're in this location, get inside, stay away from the windows. It's for the cell right now that's in the Cedar Rapids, Marion area. It could have nickel-sized hail and strong winds. So especially the southern part of Cedar Rapids, we'll kind of zoom a little bit closer. It does include the southwest and southeast portion of Cedar Rapids, or at least a large chunk of it. As we look at the radar, nothing imminent over Marion or Hiawatha right now, but off to the east of Marion, there very well could be some heavy rain and some of that nickel-sized hail. This cell is moving off to the east, as I said, at 43 miles per hour. So it's going to be around Springville, Martell, perhaps Mount Vernon and Lisbon as we head through the next several minutes here. And eventually it'll end up in Cedar County as well as southern Jones County. As you can see how that polygon box does extend down there. So again, some large hail possible right now around West Branch into Cedar County. That's a different warning. But around Iowa City, some rainfall occurring right now, perhaps some strong gusty winds, some of that hail possible West Branch and northeast of West Branch out there in some of the rural areas. So let's run through some of the warnings right now. We'll start with the map here. Again, southeast Linn County till 6 o'clock, severe thunderstorm warning out. It does include Cedar Rapids and Marion. Also southern Jones, northern Cedar till 6 o'clock, and then a big chunk of Johnson County under severe thunderstorm warning till 6:15. It does include Iowa City, and that stretches into southern Cedar County as well as northern Louisa County, and that also goes until 6:15. So another look at the radar. Two different cells showing up right now. The one that stretches from Tipton swings over to Iowa City, also one around Cedar Rapids, and both of these are eastbound right now. And as we look off to the west of Cedar Rapids towards central Iowa, not much showing up on TV9's live First Alert Pinpoint Doppler radar. So it looks like we could get a break as we head through later on this evening, but tomorrow we could fire up more showers and thunderstorms. Here's the reports. Over the last few hours, several reports of hail. For instance, some hail was reported 5 miles northwest of Iowa City. It's the green dots on there. Several reports near Middle Amana of some hail. 1 mile south of Watkins. At times, some of this was reported quarter-sized, and then that stretches back up into southwest Wisconsin. And there was no reports of tornadoes for the day, thankfully, and no reports of any wind damage. So just several reports of hail and some strong wind gusts that were upwards of 50 miles per hour. Here's the latest on lightning track over the last hour. A lot of the lightning right now is confined to Johnson County as well as Linn, and all that is headed off to the east. So again, back to the radar one more time for you. We have the cell right now around Cedar Rapids and Marion that could have some nickel-sized hail. It's moving off to the east, heading towards southern Jones and northern Cedar. So if you're in Springville, Martell, Mount Vernon, Lisbon, Olin, Clarence, watch out for this storm. And then a severe thunderstorm warning does continue for much of Johnson into Louisa and southern Cedar. The threat is for some larger golf ball size hail there and some wind, and that goes for Iowa City, West Branch, and West Liberty. So that is the latest from the KCRG TV9 Weather Lab. I know we've been talking a lot about severe thunderstorms this afternoon. Once these quiet down, which we think they will once we get through the next couple of hours, we'll probably take a closer look at the river levels and bring you up to date on the latest with those later on this evening. But for now, I want to send it back to Bruce and Beth in the studio for the latest on the floods of 2008.
And the way this is going, Josh will probably be coming back to you again very shortly. It's quite an afternoon.
Thank you, Josh. We want to take a look now at some video from the Cedar Rapids area today, and it does have a little bit of hope in it. The waters we've been telling you, have been receding, and this is, as I understand, the First Avenue Bridge. It is drying out. You can see where the water is not moving. In the center of your screen, I believe we have birds that have taken up rest there. They're probably looking around thinking the same thing we are, what's going on. But that is a little bit of hope. There is dry land on First Avenue right there in the heart of downtown Cedar Rapids. That is a flower pot that they have along Cedar Rapids that was flipped over. And there are bricks apparently that have been ripped out of pavement.
Yeah, you see
there you
them
go.
there from, I think, is that along 2nd Street in that area? That's where they did all of that landscaping work or redoing the pavement and the sidewalks a number of years ago. Beautification of the downtown area, that huge project, and you can see how that's just ripped right out of this.
You can also see though how the water has come down. Is that asphalt?
Looks like some of the street. We've talked about this numerous times about what the force of this water has probably done to the street. We're worried about the integrity of the bridges when the water goes down, and also the structure of the buildings downtown.
I don't know if you can tell here, but that's mud-covered sidewalk. There was just mud all over that. And that kind of demonstrates it for you. And that's what's going to be
last chance
anywhere the floodwaters touched. It's going to be a cleanup, and it's going to be a process.
And this is going to be, I hate to say it, but inside the buildings too. All of this horrible mess, the muck, the mud, the mold that's going to develop. I mean,
Can you see the water line right there? This is the
up on the window.
on the building there, and it's a building along 2nd Avenue, and that's where the water was. So, you know, the water's going down. There it is, a closer shot of that water line.
You see, we had sandbags up against the, looked like against a door there, that a futile attempt to keep water out.
And next, we're going to see a sign above, what is that?
Looks
Those
like a sandbag that's maybe already molding.
This is the sign above, together we will all rise above. The
Volume.
nightclub Volume used to be the Dragon, right there on 2nd Avenue. I believe that.
Kind of a good motto for us all now as we are recovering from this horrible disaster here in eastern Iowa.
3rd Street and 2nd Avenue is what you're looking at
That's
here.
Zinn's, I believe.
City garbage can. Those things are sturdy, and the water just knocked it right over. This is pictures from today from the downtown Cedar Rapids area as the water has begun to recede.
The theater Cedar Rapids, the effort there, you can see to pile up sandbags along the doors there. They were frantically hoping to save the historic organ inside. We hope they were able to do that. Also, we have that wonderful organ at the Paramount Theater. We have not heard about whether they were able to save that or not. That is a historic piece from...
They saved that one and maybe not the other. I believe the Paramount one they weren't able to get out.
We did hear
It was in
that.
the Gazette. I read it this morning.
I didn't read that this morning. I read as much as I could, but...
There's performances of Aida and different things that are coming up.
That's at Theater Cedar Rapids.
Okay.
Aida. I did read that they were able to get a lot of the seats up at the Paramount, and because they just went through a renovation there a few years ago, and we saw water just a few feet below the marquee outside the Paramount. So that's giving you a little bit of an indication of what we're seeing as those waters recede, and things are going to start drying up in that downtown Cedar Rapids area, but what a job ahead yet. And now, let's go see another area of town.
Let's bring Claire Kellett into the fold. You got an opportunity to see an area that we haven't seen because it's just been too dangerous.
Right, the Czech Village area, we had to go out with 2 firefighters, photographer Randy Dirks and I, because, you know, where they're going changes by the minute, but, you know, the rapids, the current, everything is so strong, you have to wear. I mean, we started out in 19th Avenue Southwest and Bowling Street Southwest, and the firefighters, to kind of sum up everything in a nutshell here, what they were telling us is everybody from C Street to the river are going to be very, very lucky if they don't have water in their 2nd story. I mean, you see the water there as high as the trees, as high as Johnny's Speed Shop, right there in the background. You see the windows are almost covered. Now, in some areas you can see, if you look closely at some of the buildings, you can see receding lines. I believe right here we're headed down C Street, but I mean, look right there, that's a roof right there in the middle, and all that debris wedged up against that telephone pole. I mean, that's things you see throughout the area. There's just so much that has floated on the road. There's a stop sign there. That puts it in perspective. You can barely see the street sign right there, but you can tell kind of the receding lines for some of the places. But, you know, in some of the homes, that right there maybe looks like it dropped 3 or 4 feet, but in some homes it might be 2 feet. It just depends on the landscape from the perspective that you're going to. We're getting close here to the Czech Village, but
floating paint.
That's common to see, you know, things just going down the river. Here we're going to take a turn right into downtown, the Czech Village area there. You see the Maytag appliance store, and you'll just see all these landmarks as we go down this road, and you can tell we're going. I mean, look at that shot right there. And you see the bridge in the distance, no water on it.
Yeah. So many people love Zindrick's restaurant right there in Czech Village.
And we in Music Loft right there, we have gotten so many calls about what this area looks like, because again, the fire department is restricting everybody. There was a resident who came up and wanted to see their home, but they're using it for media, for us to be able to show you what the area looks like. They're not taking residents to their homes because it is simply too dangerous.
You can see the current moving
right,
through there.
and this is where we actually had to turn. We're going to make a right-hand turn in a minute here onto B Street. We're turning right at Ernie's Restaurant. And we had to hold on. I mean, they have to really rev up the engine, pick up speed. You can see how all of a sudden we're going faster right here to round the corner. If you don't do that, you're going to get kind of stuck in the rapids and go down. And we are now on, like I said, B Street. And this is the farthest that they can go. They're not going to take us down to A Street because it is too dangerous for even them to go down, the skilled firefighters to go down there. I mean, it is simply too dangerous. We got a little scared. We got some plastic wrapped in the propeller, and we got shifted into a house, and you got to get the plastic off the propeller. So it is, it's eye-opening. This is the best shot that we could get, the closest we could get to the Czech Museum right there. If you can just wait a second, see the clock tower right there, but the Salvation Army truck, but right there, that's the closest we could get to see anything in that area. But obviously, look at how high that water is there.
This is today. We've had promising images of water receding in downtown areas, but then you look here. What time did you take this boat tour, Claire?
Maybe about 3 hours ago, right before the rain started coming down this afternoon.
So the overall water level in general had dropped about 2 feet at that point, but as you were telling us earlier, it's a little deceptive in some areas.
You know, some it might be 5 feet, some might be 2 feet, and the firefighters kept commenting they weren't even aware of how different the landscape was in the area. And you'll see things like that. And look at how close the power lines are. I know I mentioned this earlier. I could stick my hand up, and I didn't, obviously, but you can stick your hand up and just touch them, and someone's porch. Yeah, just wrapped around, and that's a good perspective of the power lines. You can only imagine how high. I mean, there's someone's front door right there.
Were there cars or anything underneath? This water is so high, maybe the cars are weighted down?
There were some cars in some areas, again, with the landscape level. There were some cars we could see, but some of the times they had no idea what was underneath this, which is another reason we're going about 2 miles an hour for, obviously, safety reasons.
You see these trees, you think those are the tops of trees that are sticking out of the water, you know?
And it's really just tragic when you see, I mean, there's the Come and Go gas station there. It's just tragic. Like I said, we went at 19th Avenue Southwest and Bowling Street Southwest, which is kind of the hub of officials around there, and there are just homeowners that are just standing there just looking. I mean, they can't see down to C Street or B Street or even A Street, but you know, they can't. Yeah, that's the freezer we talked about earlier, just coming.
And the roof is not going to do well once the waters go down because of what that freezer is doing.
Right.
You can see even a little bit where it's sagging under the weight of that.
Yeah, that's kind of the activity there. That's where the boat kind of takes you off. But that light post that's there, that's where the water was this morning. So it has gone down that far, but people just come, people that live in the neighborhood, they just come, and you can just see the tears in their eyes. And, you know, they just have, there was one guy that I was talking to, he's 78 years old, and he doesn't know if he's going to rebuild there. He goes, every summer we have parties, everybody knows everybody, and he said they exchanged phone numbers, but he's wondering if they'll ever have that closeness that they've had. I mean,
community, I mean,
people have lived there for years, obviously.
Some born in the house that they're now in their 90s did not want to leave, and that's understandable. But I mean, that stop sign, look at this is video. I have to keep reminding myself this is today, this isn't Thursday.
Yeah,
this is today.
We've seen other neighborhoods where the water was like that Thursday, yesterday, and this is the first time we've been able to get into the Czech Village neighborhood and
again, because
to see it that high.
It is too dangerous, and like I said, we're going so slow, but you don't really understand how fast those currents are moving. If we went down to A Street, they said that we would get sucked into the channel there and just be in the river by that point. So you don't feel it, and you kind of hold on tight to the boat. You're obviously with people that are trained, and they're advising nobody to do what we were able to do today, because obviously we're with the fire department. But we did see people driving on the road. I mean, the car was up past almost to their hood.
The water was up to their hood, and
they were still driving. And at that point, the police officers would just go run after them, obviously, and yell at them, "What are you doing?" You know.
But I can sympathize with the frustration and the desperation to want to see your home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in the I'm not there, so I don't really get it, but I can.
The other thing you told us when we looked at this video earlier is that they're still doing welfare checks out in these areas, that there are people in some of these houses yet.
There are, and they said yesterday they went to a house of an elderly woman and she would not leave. Today they went back and it looked like her front door had been pushed in, and her neighbor had come back. Like that guy that I was talking to earlier said, it's such a tight-knit community, everybody knows everybody there. And they came back and it looked as if somebody had come in and convinced her. But even this morning, they said they had to take police officers out there with the firefighters to really convince some people to get into their boat, to give them some time to grab the essential papers and medicine and stuff they needed. But you just see this and you imagine these people don't have electricity, they obviously no power, nothing.
By now, if they had cell phones, their cell phones have died. They have no opportunity to recharge them.
You wonder about food and water that
the water that's in their homes.
The other thing, we hear occasionally of people who find a boat and they take a boat on their own, getting into these neighborhoods to check their houses, but how dangerous that is when you're talking about this current. If you're not aware of the strength of that current, what could happen?
When our propeller was off for a few minutes to get the plastic off, we just kept going down B Street there, and kind of shakes a little bit. You're obviously with people that know what they are doing, but at the same time it gives you a classic example of just how strong that current is. There's that another shot of Czech Village right there. And it's amazing, and I was talking with photographer Randy Dirks. I mean, there's just so much to shoot. Randy's constantly turning, and the firefighters were pointing out things as we're going down this road, and you cannot shoot everything. You cannot grasp exactly what you are looking at. The firefighters are saying, they've seen it so much, you just kind of become numb to it, but they're surprised with everybody's reaction when they take new people out in their boat.
And when they rescue people who are, we're talking still in their homes as of today, when they do finally, agree to come out, are the people then look around and realize how bad it is? Are they still some sort of in denial before then?
I think the word denial came up a lot with the firefighters, because I was surprised seeing this, that anybody was still in the area. But they were saying a lot of it was elderly people. They've been there for so long and they just weren't going to leave their home, because many of them, like the man I talked to today, many of them are afraid they're never going to go back. So they feel like once they leave, that's it. I
never thought of it.
Yeah, and we've talked about this, how this is going to be a serious problem with so many people, is the psychological effect of this, especially when they get back and see their homes and realize what's the extent of the damage. And so many, we've seen so many homes that I don't know if they're going to be able to be restored and cleaned up.
If the water's up to the second floor, like they were saying, from C Street down to the river, you're lucky if your water is not hitting your second floor.
And what's hard about that is people who did evacuate on time, who did heed the advice, they took everything from their basement and they put it on their first floor.
They had no idea that was...
To put it on your second floor, that just seems like a waste of your time and energy to go up that extra flight of stairs and to think of all the time, it's very upsetting.
Claire,
thank you, Claire.
Yeah, we will be showing that video throughout the night, and we'll be hearing a little later during our 6 o'clock hour from that individual that I've been talking to. I mean, he can just sum up the devastation from somebody that's been there since the 40s. He can talk about it. So we'll have that for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Claire. I want to read this. The Cedar Rapids water situation continues. The restrictions on intake of water and use of water. Of course, they're trying to urge everyone to just use water for drinking only. Marion is also received a request from Cedar Rapids Water to maintain their water system, of course, and today Marion began pumping water into the Cedar Rapids water system in an effort to help keep the pressure up, for one thing. We don't want a pressure loss in Cedar Rapids. Dave Fransman was explaining earlier how that really could affect the water supplies in some parts of the city. They did that through a hydrant-to-hydrant interconnect on Tama Street using a Marion Fire Department pumper truck. And they've also issued a request in Marion through their Emergency Management Operations Center for Marion people to try to limit their water use also to just vital uses. And that means drinking water use only. This is a voluntary thing again, but in Marion they are now asking you to restrict your water usage to drinking water only if you can. It's so important in these communities because, again, you lose that water supply, and that's catastrophic for days until we get that water back.
We just received a message from the Czech and Slovak Museum, from the people that run it. They want to thank everyone for being concerned about them, and they say that we've endured the Czech and Slovak peoples have endured difficult, devastating events in their history and have survived to become stronger. Iowa is filled with the strength of those who've settled here and built the Cedar Rapids community. The museum will rise again from above the floodwaters to continue as the touchstone for Czech and Slovak cultural heritage in the United States. This coming from Gail Naughton, the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library.
Yeah, we're going to have somebody from the museum coming down to talk to us, well, hopefully within an hour or so, and just talk to. They were able to remove some things, I understand, from the museum and save as many of the artifacts and other items that they have there. But we'll talk a little bit about exactly how extensive they think this might be to that beautiful, beautiful building along the Cedar River. Yes, we were told earlier about this silo that broke at Cargill today under the force of the water, and you can see the grain that has spilled out of that silo. Is that a railroad car at the base? Yeah, it looks like it, a railroad car that's been tipped over. It just goes on and on and on. Every time we turn around, there's something else. John Campbell's joined us now. You were, well...
Flying again.
Flying again today. Good for you. These aerials they're so important to really give people even another perspective on how extensive this flooding has been. Yes. And, well, take it over.
Well, take it away. Well, we went up this time. We've been going up in the morning. Today we went up around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're going to start right there with the Mays Island shot that we've shot every day. One good sign. Look at that. You can see the green. Yeah. You can see the green, and you can also see the bridges starting to reappear as the water is receding here in Cedar Rapids. So there are those little signs. I'm sure that you've been talking about them most of the day. Here we are on the east side of downtown, somewhat where we're located here at Channel 9, and you can still see the water on that looks like 2nd Street down there.
Yes.
And still plenty of water going through the streets of Cedar Rapids. And you don't see anybody down there either, obviously. It's a deserted city where the floodwaters have taken over. This is the time check area. That's the motel where I read that the Colonel's manager has been staying, and all his stuff is up on the 3rd floor, hopefully very dry. The railroad bridge, once again, where the houseboats continue to be clogged up behind it. I don't know what's going to happen there. You see some oil in the water, guys? Yep. More of the time check area. That was the area right behind the big levee.
And this is today, and it's still up to the roofs.
Yeah, it's still... From these shots, it's hard to tell it's receding. You have to see landmarks like the bridges, things like that.
To get a good indication. Yeah.
Exactly, to get an idea that the water... Now, this is Rompot. This is the first time we've had a shot of Rompot from the air. That's on the far southeast side of Cedar Rapids, and obviously they took a hit, too. There's kind of a railroad track that curves around there that's on a levee, and I believe that's what broke and let a lot of the water into that area. This is the Indian Creek Nature Center. Look at that. Believe it or not, it's right next to Indian Creek, and it looked to me like it's high and dry. Kind of made it. Highway 13, heading south towards Highway 30. That's why you can't get on Highway 13.
See why it's closed.
Yeah, you cannot. Big Creek is right there, and then this is... Normally, this is a field area. I'm very familiar with this area. And now this is the Highway 30 bridge. As you can see, water is not running over it.
But that's close.
But it's close, and it's closed, and you cannot drive over the Highway 30 bridge. Now we're going to head down to Coralville. This is a shot we've had many times, the convention center. Look at the sandbags down there next to the buildings. Trying to keep the water out. It's hard from this distance to know if they're successful or not.
And the current again, look at that.
Yes.
Along those homes there.
Right. These are homes right on the other side of the convention center, right along the river. I mean,
I hate to say it, but they're asking for it in some ways if they build there. This is the Coralville Strip, guys. Right there is the Coralville Strip. We're heading out of town. There's a familiar landmark to me. That's the Iowa women's softball field. More of the strip area, heading up towards Randy's Carpet, that area, over the creek. What's the name of that creek that goes in there? Clear Creek, yes, that's Clear Creek. That's the bridge that goes over Clear Creek. Now, this is more or less the fine arts area of campus, if I might call it that. I think Mabee Hall, and you guys might know the names better than I do, but you can see that Clapp Recital Hall, I believe, is in that area, and they've taken a serious hit. And if my phone doesn't stop beeping with a low battery. This is South Gilbert. This is way on the other end of town, and as you can see, they're having a problem there too.
And again, John, we're not expecting a crest down there until Tuesday.
Is that what they're saying now?
Yes.
Tuesday? This is the Union. Look at the sandbagging there, Bruce and Beth.
Massive.
All those
Yes.
people the other night just piling up those sandbags.
This is the big technology building. I apologize, I don't know the name of that building, but it's very familiar if you've ever been down there. And this is one of those neighborhoods on the north end over by Dubuque Street, and it's near the river too. And you can see that it took a pretty good hit. So that's what we have today from the air. And once again, you can tell the water's going down in Cedar Rapids when you see the bridges. Iowa City, the news is not as good right now.
It's the opposite.
Yes.
And we'll keep showing that throughout the evening. I
Good.
know people want to see those aerials.
Yeah, we really appreciate that, John, because we have been getting requests, more and more requests from people in that Iowa City, the Johnson County area, just saying we want to see what's happening with the floodwaters. And this is Saturday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday yet before we're going to see a crest down there. So it's...
I think you guys showed Mahaffey Bridge earlier. The water's, I was out there also today. The water's right at the bottom of that. So,
and that's closed,
yes.
but it is intact.
Yes.
We
Yes,
finally
it's intact.
we got that straight now.
It's
And the
intact.
other bridge we showed was the North Dubuque Street Bridge in the water plant area there, and that is intact, and it was still open when our cameras were there, but they're expecting that to close because the water is very close to the bottom of that too.
I was on Highway 1 near the bridge that goes over the Cedar River there between Mount Vernon and Solon, and there's water on each side of that bridge. There's some thought that maybe some of the pavement leading up to the bridge on the north side has been washed out. We don't know that. I can't confirm that. But there is some thinking right now that might have happened, and of course they won't know until the water recedes.
And we're going to find that all over the place, John. We had video or pictures last night of Highway 150
by Benton. I
north
saw
of
those that
Benton.
Joe was showing,
And
yes.
You just see how the force of the water there has just torn up the pavement on that highway. So that's why you really, really have these concerns about the integrity of the bridges, about these streets, these roads. This is why people, when you're out driving, even in the country, and you come across an area, don't go through those floodwaters. If you see something crossing a road, don't drive through it. You have no idea what's underneath there.
Now, how did you get up in the people are like, is Bobby back? Did you guys get the helicopter going
I'm
again?
glad you asked, because I want to give a hats off to Perry Walton out at the Marion Airport. He's been flying us around. He's been flying Alliant Energy. They've been out looking at their lines, things like that. I don't know if he's slept at all.
all over here.
No, that must be my wake-up alarm. But yeah, hats off to Perry. He's a great pilot, and he's been very busy. Like I say, I don't know if he's slept at all, but very important. Not only to gather the news, but the other things. And I guess I didn't turn that phone off.
I think we want you to stick around here for a minute. 'Cause
Okay.
we're probably going to show this again. We'd like to go through that again.
Okay.
I can update for people in the Cedar Rapids area who still need a shelter, who would like to go to a shelter and have their pet stay with them. There are some spaces left at the New Creation Church in Cedar Rapids. It's at 3715 33rd Avenue Southwest near Target, the Target on the southwest side of town in Cedar Rapids. They're accepting people and their pets. Don't just drop your pets off. They're not doing that. 9 a.m. tomorrow. If you live in the Rompot area of Cedar Rapids, 9 a.m. tomorrow, the Red Cross is meeting with people, and some of the people may be able to visit their homes, is what I understand here. If you live in the Rompot area, also known as the Cedar Valley neighborhood, residents are instructed to meet at 2301 Thompson Street Southeast. 2301 Thompson Street Southeast. For residents of the Rompot area known as Cedar Valley neighborhood, someone from the American Red Cross is going to talk to you about safety and proper documentation damages before you're allowed to enter your homes.
And we have, I guess we're going to run the open for our 6 o'clock news real fast. So just to give you the idea that we're doing our 6 o'clock newscast. So
Go.
Make it official, baby.
And we are starting our 6 o'clock news with our just ongoing coverage of this devastating flooding that in some areas is getting better in eastern Iowa. The waters are receding. In others, it's getting much worse.
We're doing everything we can to get to all of the communities touched by floodwaters. We've had aerial footage that John Campbell has just brought in. We have been able to go to the Czech Village area, and right now, since we just got that aerial footage in, we want to see it again.
Okay, I think it's probably worth seeing again if you didn't get a chance just a few minutes ago. It gives a great idea of how massive this flood has been in Cedar Rapids and the Iowa City and the Vinton and Palo areas. And here we are, Mays Island in Cedar Rapids, the signature shot once again of the county courthouse and city hall and the green island. And we didn't see green there yesterday, guys. And we can also see the bridges starting to reappear, so a definite sign the water is going down. This is the side of town that, because we work right down here, we're very familiar with, the east side, and it's a ghost town down there.
We just saw ground level video a short while ago of the mud and muck that the receding waters are leaving behind, and
I'll bet.
some of the damage to the pavement and sidewalks there too.
I'll bet, just when we got up to Cedar Rapids, it was really raining hard in the helicopter, or outside the helicopter, and I got to thinking, when we need that rain is when all this stuff recedes, because then it'll help wash all that muck and crud away. But we don't need it right now. It's not really going to help us. There's that familiar shot of the bridge. You see a lot of the gasoline and oil that we've talked about on the water, the pollution down there. And once again, this is the Time Check neighborhood. I call it the near northwest side. This is Rompot. You were just talking about Rompot, Beth.
9 a.m. tomorrow, if you live in the Rompot area, they are meeting with people, the Red Cross, to guide some people through their homes of Rompot if they are able to do so. If you live in the Rompot area, 2301 Thompson Street Southeast, 2301 Thompson Street Southeast, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Please meet there.
Here's a good shot, I thought, the Indian Creek Nature Center. And despite the fact it sits right next to Indian Creek, it looks like it survived. I can't say that officially. Here's Highway 13 heading south, and this is why you cannot take Highway 13 south and get hit Highway 30, or vice versa, come from Highway 30 and head up towards Marion. This is the 30 bridge. There is some water over the road right before you get to the bridge on the east side. So that's probably the main reason that bridge is closed, because you can see there's some decent clearance underneath the bridge. Coralville. Is that the Marriott?
That's the new Marriott.
Yeah, that's the new Marriott.
And the contrast between what you shot 2 days ago of this and now how the water's right up against it.
Right. This is right in the same area. And look at those houses. They're right next to the Iowa River.
The current down there, you can see the force of that water moving through.
That's why you don't want to be down in that area. No. You would be crazy to be down there. This is the Coralville Strip. Normally a busy place, especially on a Saturday.
Is this more than what flooded in 93?
Oh, yes.
I wasn't here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This is the softball field. It took a major hit. The track is underwater down there. More of the strip. That's Clear Creek, the bridge that goes over Clear Creek coming into Iowa City that runs. It's a tributary running into the Iowa River. So you can see about how far the water extends. The fine arts area. I know Steve has been talking about that a little bit. And as you can see, water in most of those buildings down there.
What is it, 11 or 12 buildings that are basically locked down, closed along the river?
They evacuated 19, and so far either 11 or 12 on the U of I campus are taken on water.
Yeah.
Now this is a new area that we shot today. This is South Gilbert, heading south. And you can see those businesses too, already underwater, taking in plenty of water. The Iowa Memorial Union, looks like a pretty good sandbag job there.
They built a pretty impressive wall there the other night. Hundreds and hundreds of young people, especially the young people, people of all ages.
There are 12 buildings flooded out on the U of I campus so far, and I only have a list of some of them. I don't have them all. Go ahead, and I'll read this later.
This is a new housing district near the river, up on the north side off Dubuque Street, west of Dubuque Street, I would say. And those poor people, look at those beautiful homes, and and they're just they're taking a hit too.
And
the river.
And the water is still rising down there.
Yes, that's the bad news.
Several more days. And
Just-
thank you, John. That's
Yeah, just like the buildings on the campus, if you're curious, the ones we know that have water so far, Art West Museum, the theater, Hansher Auditorium, Voxman, Stanley, the Campus Barn, the IMU, and the Mayflower. There are others. I didn't write them down quickly enough
madly
when we got the list.
sandbagging this afternoon around the Lindquist Center, too, the College of Education. So, I mean, they had to curtail that, though, because of the severe weather that was moving in.
Yes.
They got hail.
Oh.
I mean, they got
Heavy, heavy
significant
rain.
hail in the Iowa City area.
I flew around that.
You were out there then?
We were kind of, skirting the storm a little bit.
And then we have to the south of that, even down around Columbus Junction and Fredonia, and those areas, the whole little town of Fredonia the people have been ordered out of there already, and they're not expecting a crest at Columbus Junction until Monday. Down there is where the Cedar River and the Iowa River meet, and the English River is in there also. So,
Well, I would think those people, after watching 3 and 4 days of this, get the message.
Yes.
You don't stay to see what happens. You know what's going to happen. You move your stuff up, and you get the heck out of Dodge.
Thank you,
Yeah.
John.
Okay.
John Campbell, we appreciate it.
Let's go down to Mark Geary live in Iowa City right now to find out what is happening there. Mark?
Bruce and Beth, we've been in Iowa City, the Coralville area, all day today, kind of assessing what's going on here. We started out in Coralville, where the water was coming up First Avenue. I think John Campbell just showed us some visuals of the Coralville Strip. Water from the sewage was also coming up in that particular section of First Avenue, in addition to the water coming out of the Iowa River and just kind of creeping up First Avenue. Then we moved into the Iowa City area, and we went over to a large sandbagging effort. And while we were over there, while the university was trying to get as many people as possible to sandbag, we noticed that there was something happening at the University of Iowa's power plant. And so we headed over there to check things out, and we realized, and we're going to take a look at some video of that, I believe, right now, of the power plant, that there indeed was a problem at the power plant. They had just a large amount of water rushing into the basement, and people had spent quite a bit of time over the past few days, really trying to protect this power plant from any kind of danger or any kind of water rushing into it. But it just was not enough to hold back the water forces. As a result, the university did have to shut off the power plant supply. And what that meant is then that they had to rely on Mid-American for most of their power. It didn't really have that much of a dramatic effect on the university or the University of Iowa hospitals, but they did have to force them to take some basic steps, such as rationing things like air conditioning and warm water, which get some of their power from this particular building. In addition to that, the University of Iowa said that it had to cut back on non-essential surgeries for the next few days or so and just focus on those immediate emergencies, at least for the next few days, while they try to get through this and try to deal with these power situations. As of right now, there is no danger or threat of any major problem at the University of Iowa Hospital. But this was part of that contribution. Now, I think we're going to take a look at some video now of some of the bridges that are going through downtown Iowa City here. What you're seeing right there is Iowa Avenue, and you could actually stand on that bridge earlier this afternoon. And this is one of the many bridges, and there's the railroad bridge as well. And finally, I believe we're going to see Burlington coming up as well. They've had inspectors walking along those bridges for the past 2 days, and they're not getting any sleep. They're spending, 45 hours on the job here, sleeping on the floor of their office if they can, checking to make sure that those bridges are safe. And they have shut down almost all of the bridges in downtown Iowa City now, with the exception of Burlington. And there is some talk that they may have to do that if the water rises up too high. A very important job keeping those bridges safe. And that they said the real threat around those bridges is that the water is swirling around kind of the foundation of the bridges. I think we're going to take a look now at some sandbagging video here. This was the major effort here today in Iowa City. Just remarkable to watch. Thousands of people came down, students, people who live in the area, just trying to build a wall of sandbags around the Lindquist Center, which has been described to me today as the brain of the university, which is where they kind of store a lot of the major documents, the important files and data that kind of keeps the university running. And they built a giant wall around this place. And in fact, they had so many sandbags, they were able to start giving some back to the University of Iowa. And a lot of people who came out here, they just kept coming and coming throughout the day, and they said they just wanted to come here because they felt like they needed to do something to help.
It's a really overwhelming feeling of, community coming together, and I know disasters do that, but it's really nice to see that happen.
Well, you can't just not help. If everybody pitches in, we can save things, and I think it's really important.
And unfortunately, a few hours ago, they actually had to kick everybody out of that area because there was a risk of the rain that came through here. We did have some severe weather a few hours ago that forced them to evacuate everyone. And a lot of the volunteers, they just didn't want to leave. And they really had to go through and just say, look, it's not safe to be here anymore. The other threat in that particular area as well was that the water is just rising so quickly in the Iowa River here. They don't know now if it's going to start flowing into the area where those people were sandbagging, and they just said it's not worth it to risk anything. And after all these people, they had been there since 9:30 in the morning. Many had spent 5-6 hours out there, and many were getting tired as well, so it was probably a good thing. The University of Iowa president, Sally Mason, had said she thought everything would have been under control around 5 o'clock this evening, where they wouldn't really need to do any more sandbagging in the University of Iowa area, and so they were almost basically done. But they're saying as well they're just still not sure if that water is going to be able to be held back by the sandbagging effort that they do have in place here. In addition to that, something that is new happening tonight in Iowa City, we've seen this in many other communities affected by flooding, is that they're starting a curfew, and that starts at 8:30 tonight, and I believe this one goes until about 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning tomorrow. And that means they want everybody to stay within about a football field's length away from any flooded areas. And that's just for everyone's safety. As we've been telling you, all week long, the flood water is not safe to be around, and they don't want people walking through it. And they're also trying to keep people's property safe as well that has been flooded through. There are a variety of buildings on the University of Iowa's campus that had to be closed down as well because just water came rushing through. One of the notable ones is, of course, the Mayflower Residence Hall, which people were desperately trying to prevent water from coming in earlier in the week. Just wasn't enough sandbags. There wasn't enough they could do to keep that water back. In addition to that, they're saying that they're going to need volunteers here in the Iowa City area from about 8 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night, just about every day until further notice. And we have information on our website of where you need to go. But it is important now. They've changed it. If you want to volunteer and help sandbag, they don't want you to go to the volunteer sites. They want you to go to various sections on the east and west side of town to volunteer, and then they'll bus you to the location because it's just getting congested. And just overall, a lot of people are staying away. There are not a lot of people walking around in downtown Iowa City. Usually this is a pretty busy place, especially on a Saturday. Most people are staying away, and they really don't want you down near the floodwater unless you're here to help volunteer. That's what's happening here in Iowa City. I'm Mark Geary. Bruce and Beth, back to you.
Thank you. A
Mark.
lot of information there, Mark, and we're all keeping an eye on things down there. And the one thing we're really concerned about, and a lot of people too, is they've been piling up those bags, but there's been so much more water everywhere it's flooded that we really are hoping that they have those dikes high enough down there in Iowa City, those those walls of sandbags. The Coralville Reservoir, our general manager, John Phelan, was there today shooting this. He said the water going over the spillway now, the water going over the spillway is about 4 feet deep. So it's just all of that is going downriver into the Iowa River, and that's heading to Coralville and Iowa City.
They don't need it.
Not at all. We saw in that video that John Campbell just showed us, the aerials on how much flooding there already is, and then you think how much more is coming.
And that's why there is a curfew in Coralville and Iowa City that Mark touched on. It will begin at 8:30 tonight. It'll end at 6 a.m. tomorrow, and it reads that no people other than those that are authorized member of law enforcement may be within 100 yards of any area affected by flood. Coralville and Iowa City from 8:30 tonight until 6 a.m. You have to stay more than 100 yards away of any area affected by flood.
We have new Lake McBride video, but the thing about the video that we're seeing from Lake McBride here is it looks like a lake.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard to tell that we can't tell here if this. I know the water is higher than normal.
Sure.
But the video doesn't really give us any indication of any serious problems there. The dock still sitting out there. Is that out of place? I couldn't tell really. But Lake McBride is up too. But It's serious situation out. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're. They're expected to close Benton Street in Iowa City today.
Street Bridge. Yeah.
Thank you. Benton Street Bridge in Iowa City today. They're also expected to close Burlington Street Bridge tomorrow. And after that happens, assuming it does happen, there will only be one way to access the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics, and that will be through Melrose Avenue, not the show Melrose Place, Melrose Avenue from the west side of the community. And just, it's sort of like the city of Iowa City, like the city of Cedar Rapids, is being divided into two, with the Iowa River and the flooded areas between it being the reason why you can't get from point A to point B across the river. After they close Burlington Street Bridge and after they close the Benton Bridge, the only way you'll be able to get over the Iowa River in Iowa City will be I-80.
Yeah, and it's really cutting that community right in half. We're going to move back to Cedar Rapids now, where we want to point this out again, that the American Red Cross, we understand this is coming from FEMA, but the Red Cross is currently handing out bottled water at Westdale Mall in the parking lot in front of the old Von Mauer store at Westdale Mall, and also at Walmart on Blair's Ferry. And this is bottled water they're handing out. And please take advantage of this if you can. What was it like? I can't remember the total, but it was a large amount of water that they're trucking into Cedar Rapids for this. This, if you use this bottled water, that's helping to ease the demands on the city's water supply. And believe me, you can use bottled water for
brushing your teeth,
shaving like I've been doing the last few days.
And it's not just Cedar Rapids. We know the people of Marion and Hiawatha, and we thank you for limiting your water use as well. And I believe Robbins too, because aren't we sharing? They're sharing their water with Cedar Rapids. So if you're in any of those communities, please take advantage of this water. You're helping.
And earlier today, I believe it stopped at 6 o'clock. I think well, Josh is here to tell us, but they were allowing people to get back into some of the buildings in downtown Cedar Rapids to retrieve, at least see what the conditions were, and to retrieve some materials. And there are a lot of offices and businesses that are on the second, third, fourth floors of these buildings, and that really have not been having any flood damage. And these people were able to get in to see and retrieve some things, but they also stopped it for a while because of concerns about the Skywalk system. And Josh, you have some information about that.
They met this morning, and there were hundreds of workers that needed to get downtown to their businesses because they had, essential files, servers, things that their clients are going to need because they can conduct their business elsewhere outside of downtown, but they needed these things. We followed them in later on this afternoon after they alleviated all those concerns about any structural damage to the Skywalk or any possible gas leaks. Although those things were not true, they brought in the Marion Fire Department to actually find out if those things were problems. They were not, in fact. Marion firefighters actually had to escort the people through this afternoon. What you're seeing now is a lot of workers from the American Building going over to their law offices. The American Building has several people that are in law offices over there. They're grabbing their essential files and servers, and they had 30 minutes to get in and get out. And it's very, very hot in those buildings because all of that air is just trapped in there. And of course, they don't have any electricity or any air or anything like that.
I didn't think of that, yeah.
Yeah, so this crew was 10 people. They had to get in and get out, and the way they had to do it is they went in with a pair of firefighters, signed their names on things because it's completely dark in there. Everyone has flashlights. And so once the 30 minutes was up, they did a roll call, and then they were able to
get out.
Yeah, but and they had to wait on people. At first there were 2 people missing, so they had to go through the dark with the flashlights and find them and everything. So this is something serious, but it's something that the businesses found necessary because they don't know when they're going to be able to get back in, because there could be some structural damage to some of these buildings, and it's stuff that engineers are going to have to check out, especially before people actually go back to business for good. And
Which business is this again?
This is a law office in the American Building.
Okay.
And when you think about going back to business, it's things like mold, structural damage, electrical things. Some workers told me that officials were telling them it might be 2 weeks to a month before they're allowed back in again just to get more stuff.
So this was a mad dash to get anything you can, and they provided the grocery carts. It's a great idea to pile things in.
Yeah, people were carrying things out in suitcases and everything. We actually have some sound from one of the workers and one of the firefighters, if we can roll that now.
totally out of business. We don't have any access for our servers, our files, our electronic files. We can't contact clients.
It appears that everything's okay now, and we're just basically escorting them to their business, kind of keeping time and keeping track of them, kind of.
I know that woman. She's an attorney. Her son, Ben, is friends with my 7-year-old. And I know they live far from the flood damage, so she herself, I don't believe, has suffered any flood damage. But that her business, her law office, I mean, it affects people. It's affecting everyone. I know we know that, but...
And if you saw the second person, the gentleman there, he is a Marion firefighter, a captain with them, and the Cedar Rapids firefighters would normally be doing something like this, but they are so inundated with calls and emergencies that Marion was gracious enough to lend a helping hand. So thank you very much to Marion. But we have another piece of video that our photographer Randy Dirks was able to get while we were on the skywalks, because that was the only way you could access some of these buildings. If we could roll that damage video now.
I was noticed immediately as they were walking through the skywalk just how they were just the focus on the streets down there and how it was almost like the faces they had as they saw the flooding still in the streets of downtown Cedar Rapids. And then you said like going into total dark offices and finding materials in the dark that you're going to need for your business. I mean, in 30 minutes to do all of that.
And they're so fortunate that they did get a chance to
Sure,
do that.
sure.
I mean, because there are businesses that are not connected by the Skywalk grid, and they're left, and they're not able to do that. We showed the video of Lake McBride earlier, and Bruce and I were like, can't really tell if the lake is swollen. Someone wrote the Lake McBride is normally at a higher level than the reservoir.
Right.
Now they're connected. So the water from Lake McBride is going to get added to the Coralville Reservoir. Is that how you understand that?
We appreciate things like that because there's so much information being thrown at us from, we want that information, but really every little clarification and correction we can get from people to help us get that information out, we really appreciate when people do that. So
that was what it looked like just a second ago when we were there this morning. There were hundreds of people. Lee Clancy, the chamber president, was having to yell out, the directions to all these people because everyone wanted to get in. By this afternoon, they weren't all able to get in because there just wasn't enough time. Yeah, like
came to the parkade and were not able to go through and grab stuff.
Exactly. Like we talked to the people at the library, the downtown library, and they wanted to get in so bad, but they were the furthest from the skywalk. They would have had a mile to go, and it just wasn't feasible with time-wise, and plus they don't know how deep it is back there right now.
Tell a little bit about the effort, though, to save at least some of the books at the library because they were able to get to work on lower level, books that were on the lower shelves and things.
In the downtown branch, there are about 300,000 books there, so that's a lot of stuff to save. And they stayed open till 5 o'clock on Wednesday night, and then the floods came on Thursday, so they didn't have a lot of time, and they weren't sure how much this was going to rise. I mean, nobody did.
Sorry, we have to interrupt because we have to go back to the weather lab and Josh Baines for yet another weather warning. So thank you, Josh, so much.
Josh?
Yeah, guys, severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for northeast Cedar County. That's going to go until 7. The concern is for large hail and damaging wind. Here's live first alert pinpoint Doppler radar, and we're picking up on this cell that is a little bit east of Clarence right now. The wording from the National Weather Service says it could have nickel-sized hail and winds over 60, and it's in the far northeastern part of Cedar County. The storm itself is moving to the east at 47 miles per hour, so if you're in this area, get inside and stay away from those windows. That would include Clarence, Loudoun, and eventually over to Clinton County and also portions of northwest Scott County. So that is the latest on the warning there. We can go to that graphic, Cedar County, Clarence, Tipton, Bennett, and Loudoun. You're included in this for the cell that is coming in, nickel-sized hail and winds over 60. That goes until 7. All right, it's been a while since we checked in with the rivers, so we'd like to go through all those for you. We'll start with the Cedar at Charles City. We just updated them. Right now it is at 18.66. It's forecast to fall below flood stage on Sunday. So there's the latest for the Cedar at Charles City. On down the river we go, and we'll go next to, I believe, Cedar Falls. Is that what's next on the graphic there? Let's see. Cedar Falls. There we go. Currently at 94.5. By the way, a lot of people wondering, like, what is that number? It's not 94 feet deep, and that is correct. Actually, the measurement is taken, I believe, from City Hall or at least some sort of building in Cedar Falls, and that's just above ground. What you just need to know is that it's going to hold steady through Sunday night. It's not above sea level, by the way. Well, it looks like rising to 94.8. Go back to Cedar Falls real quick there. rising to 94.8, so a little bit more by Sunday evening. Okay, now the Cedar at Waterloo, currently at 18.1. It's going to hold steady through Sunday night. So that's the latest for the Cedar at Waterloo. Next, we have the Cedar at Vinton, 19.8. It's going to fall to 19 by Sunday morning. And so that's going to be below where it was in 1993. Record flooding still occurring. As we go on down the river, the Cedar at Cedar Rapids, here's the latest. It's currently at 27.06. It's going to fall to 20 feet. That's what it was. Well, that was what it was back in the 20s, 20 feet by Monday evening. So currently 27.06, down to 20 by Monday evening, and likely to flood stage by next Friday, according to the Weather Service. The Cedar at Conesville, currently 22.9. It's cresting right now. And as we go on, the Iowa at Marengo, 20.3. It's going to remain steady through Tuesday. And looking at the Coralville Reservoir, 717 feet right now. It's above its spillway crest. The forecast is about a half a foot more. And for the Iowa at Iowa City, it's currently at 31.2. It's forecast to go to 33 on Tuesday and possibly higher. And we are going to wait. We are waiting until later on this evening when we get the latest from the hydrologists at the National Weather Service. With all the rain that we had today, this could actually be changing. So stand by on that. Other rivers of concern, we have the Iowa at Lone Tree, south of Lone Tree, 22.97 right now. It's going to crest near 23.9 on Sunday evening. Looks like the Iowa at Columbus Junction, currently 32 feet. It's forecast to go to 35 feet by Monday morning. We have the Wapsie at Independence, currently 14.4. It's on a slow fall. It should be to flood stage or back to flood stage by Tuesday. The Wapsie at Anamosa, currently 25.4. It's forecast a slow fall to 19 feet by Monday evening. What else do we have? Well, if you want more information about area rivers, just go to our website, kcrg.com. We've been talking about pictures. I know we showed some last night from the Iowa DOT's website, and we did show these last night, but I know we've been talking about, what's to come perhaps for areas around Cedar Rapids and Iowa City that have water over the road right now. This is Highway 150 north of Vinton. Notice the road is broken apart there. Looking at some of the other pictures, I'll let them load up. Here's another shot from Iowa 150 north of Vinton, and notice the road is broken there on the side. These were pictures, I believe, taken yesterday. Iowa 150 north of Vinton once again. Here's 150 north of Vinton, completely covered with water, and there's another shot of that. And looks like more broken road pictures right there. We saw these yesterday too, US 6 and Coralville covered with water. There's probably more than that at this point. Another shot of that water just covering the roadway completely. Let's keep going here. Here's some other shots now. Iowa Interstate 380 at mile marker 7. Some road water coming toward the road, and here's another shot from the same location. What else do we have here? Here's the Iowa 24 bridge in Fort Atkinson, just completely destroyed. And there's some zoomed in pictures of that. And just more water just ravishing this bridge. Looks like the Iowa-Chicago and Eastern Rail Bridge near Iowa 24 in Fort Atkinson. Just another shot there. A lot of pictures coming in from all over the state. And here's some of the newest ones that I just saw and I wanted to show you. This is US 18, Highway 18 between Charles City and New Hampton. So look at the road there, just badly damaged. You could almost stick your hand under it, looks like. So a lot of the road washed away under there, not safe for travel. Here's another shot of Highway 18 between Charles City and New Hampton. The road just broken away. And look, a big crack there on Highway 18 between Charles City and New Hampton, likely caused by the Cedar. Another shot, Highway 18. Just not a good situation there. The force it would take to break that is just incredible, and water can do that. Here's another shot of Highway 18 rounding a curve there. The water washed away along the side. This is the Union Pacific Bridge in Waterloo before it was washed out. Here's a picture after. Again, this is on the Iowa DOT's website. Just look at that water just demolishing the Union Pacific Bridge there in Waterloo. Here's another shot of that. And what else do we have here? Bryant Yard. I guess I'm not familiar where that is, but just lots of pictures. Here's near Clarksville. Look at that, the Iowa Northern Railway. Lots of damage there. I'm sure water was over at one point. You see the debris around. Another shot from the railway, Iowa Northern Railway near Clarksville. And look at that. Just amazing stuff. All right, well, enough for pictures right now. We'll go back to the radar real quick. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning does continue for northeastern Cedar County. Northeastern Cedar County, we're watching out for hail and some of that stronger wind, and that's going to go until 7 p.m. Here's a wide view of things. Those showers and thunderstorms that shot across eastern Iowa earlier formed because of the heating of the day. They seem to have dissipated, but there's still a front off to the northwest. So as we head through later tonight and tomorrow, if we look at that 7-day forecast, we're going to have another chance of showers and thunderstorms across eastern Iowa. And some of those could be on the strong side. We'll have to watch them carefully. Then after that, I think we do have a dry spell coming this week. Mostly sunny on Monday, a lot of high pressure overhead, and then high pressure is going to stick around for a while, and we don't have a chance of rain in, at least at this point, until next weekend. So that's the latest from the KCRG TV9 Weather Lab. Again, if you want the latest on the flood stages, just hit up our website, kcrg.com.
Josh, thank you very much.
I saw that stretch of 5 days in a row there with no rain and went, hallelujah.
Yeah, that looks great.
Hopefully
Thanks,
it happens.
Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
We'd like to take a look at some, or rather we'd like to bring Josh Hinkle back into the fold again. You were on the Skywalk system in downtown Cedar Rapids, and you saw people retrieving their things briefly in the businesses, and then you were able to do something else.
Right, you can get some views of downtown and the damage that's been done downtown by the Cedar River like none other. This right here are bricks that are ripped up from the sidewalk. Just look how fast the water flowed in there. It was strong enough to rip bricks that were laid down there in, in concrete.
Look at the chunks of
Look
pavement,
at the rip complete chunks of asphalt off of there. It's just unbelievable, the force of this stuff. All those bricks and asphalt are just a little bit of it. You go and look at the huge flower pots, the weigh a ton, and they are completely turned over. It's just amazing to see some of that stuff downtown, and it is finally all starting to clear away, so you can see more and more and more of it. Like what happened is just the glass fronts all just shattered, stuff like that. There is still water bubbling up from the sewers. There's furniture downtown. There's tires. There's dumpsters everywhere. There's piles of sand that just swept in from the river. There's some furniture I was talking about. It's ridiculous what you're going to find downtown, and it's going to take a lot of cleanup, and it's still not safe to go down there because there's a lot of little things like glass and nails and things that are.
Well, the manholes are open.
Oh yeah,
and look, I mean, you can still see the water too. That's in some of those streets.
Right there, it's still 2 to 3 feet deep.
Street.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh. Boy, every time we look at more video, it's.
We'd like to look at some photos from a different area. Columbus Junction, as we've been telling you, is where the Cedar River and the Iowa River meet, just north of it. And we have these photos from that area. They have had to evacuate, as is Fredonia.
Fredonia, right. The little town, that whole town.
And here we see the water has gone over that levee. It looks like beyond. Is that... I don't know if let me take that back. I don't know if the water has gone over that levee into Columbus Junction. You can just see the water approaching it.
Actually, we may want to look at these pictures again and bring Josh back in because he was just down there a couple of days ago when they were building that and talking to some people in Columbus Junction. So
they were hoping that they would their efforts would be enough. But again, images from Columbus Junction, an area that we know is devastated by floodwaters.
Gail Naughton from the Czech Museum is here with us now, and this is just another part of Cedar Rapids that is so sobering when you see this. I don't know if you were able to see the boat tour that Claire Kellett went on this afternoon through the whole neighborhood.
It's probably good that I haven't seen it before.
Well, tell us a little bit about the preparations. Were you able to get anything out of there?
Yes. We did. We removed 2 semi-loads of artifacts and collections out from the collection center and the library, but it wasn't everything.
Yeah.
We ran out of time, and
I know the video you don't want to see.
Actually, it's down a little from what I've seen before.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing?
There was hope in your voice just then, and we appreciate that.
Well, I think the shock on Thursday of what of the height of the water was just overwhelming. But I think on the bigger note, to look at the village, we are just so heartbroken and so our hearts just go out to the Czech Village and the whole Czech neighborhood around there, that's been there for so long and such a part of Cedar Rapids, and it just, I don't know, words can't really describe.
The Czech Museum is near the Cedar River, obviously, and so are you insured with flood insurance?
The museum proper is not, but the collection is, so that was some help. I mean, really, right now we focused on getting communication established, so that we have had phone calls and emails and contacts from all over the world. People trying to reach us because they're getting snippets of information about terrible things going on in Iowa, but they don't have what we have here with you all on the air almost 24 hours a day. And so they want to know what's happening. And I've talked to Czech radio, Czech television, Czech Newswire. Ambassadors have called. I mean, this is an enormous, enormous story for them, an enormous concern, promises of support and help. I mean, that is very heartening to all of us to feel that this web of support is out there for us.
Well, and we have to remember this is the national Czech and Slovak
that's right.
museum.
This is the only museum for the Czechs and Slovaks in the United States, and so
we're looking at some of the video from the from Czech Village to that area, the neighborhood around. That
took
Claire
this
Kellett went this afternoon.
Today, about 2 o'clock on this boat tour. And this is really the first time since Thursday we've been able to get into the Czech Village and take a look at things because the waters were moving way too swiftly.
Yeah, we haven't attempted to go down there. I mean, we knew that was the case. And
I know you have relationships with, what is it, the National Museum in Prague?
Yes.
And hopefully that wonderful relationship that you've had through the years, that's going to be something where you can replenish your, the pieces the artifacts and things that have been destroyed in this.
I think they, as museum colleagues, can help us to focus, to have exhibitions, to continue the work while we rebuild our own collection. And I also think that people will I pray that people will want to help us rebuild that collection.
Sure. Oh, I think
over
so.
time, they will.
Yes.
Because they understand, I mean, we feel so responsible. Oh my, look at that.
I know you're seeing this video for the first time. And it's, I know that it's very difficult and we are very sorry.
Well,
we are.
The whole community. I mean, it's just devastating for all of us, and I just have to thank everybody for the expressions of support, and people are calling saying, what can I do? How can I help? What do you need?
Well, we look at something like it's a complete disaster and what happened to the museum, but we're looking at so many people who are losing their homes and everything they possess in the world.
And that's these small businesses where, I know, and we share their pain and we feel for all these people. It's just awful. I hope, this is actually a touch encouraging that the water's down this much, I have to say.
You can see along the buildings there how much it had dropped. I think the time that Claire went through, it had gone down, according to the city, about 2 feet at that time. It's now down more than 3 feet since the crest.
If it doesn't rise again, which is another issue I understand,
we hear it might just hold steady longer, that it won't go up, it'll just not drop as quickly.
Here's as close as they could get to the museum because of the current there in the...
Yeah. That was something else that, people have said, well, we understand it's 10 or 15 feet outside, but what's it inside? And we said, well, we really don't know. Until we get in there, we don't know. But my sense would be that it filled up with water. I don't know.
That water is very powerful.
It's the water, the current around the museum, I know, is bad. It's so close to the central.
We remember that day when the 3 presidents were here. President Clinton, Václav Havel from the Czech Republic, and I'm sorry, but I can't remember the...
Kovac was his name, from the Slovak Republic.
What was the year that you opened the museum?
95.
95, so it was after the 93 flood.
Yeah,
right,
yes.
Right, but when it was built, a much attention and preparation and care was taken that the floor of the museum was above the 100-year flood line. And, you know, so, I mean, thought was given to the location on the river. You know, it wasn't, you know.
Because this isn't supposed to happen.
No.
You know, even in a bad year, this isn't supposed to happen.
Well, no one could conceive
No.
of something like this
house.
happening.
That's-
Yeah. My.
Well, Gail, we really appreciate you coming in and talking to us a little bit. I know
Well-
this is an emotional time for you and all of
Well,
these
we're-
people. It's overwhelming to all of us. Every time we see
Yeah.
what we think is going to be the worst video imaginable, we turn around and...
You've got another.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I just want people to know out there that we are meeting, we are planning for disaster recovery. We are already talking to firms and conservation, getting conservation advice. As soon as they will let us in, you know, we will be able to assess what's happened and be prepared to act right away.
Do you want people to reach you? Do you want to share a website or something?
Yes, the website should be, we're having a flood update website on our website, and it's NCSML, which is National Czech Slovak Museum Library.org.
Okay.
And I think if it's not up now, it will be today. Okay. We've been, you know, remotely working to get all that done. And so they'll be able to at least track our statements and our updates on what we're doing and so forth. So that's our first step.
There are so many people in this community that that museum means so much to them. I'm thinking of the Casimors and Joe Ladke here with our...
That's right. Joe used to be on our board of directors. Well, I mean, the Czechs in Cedar Rapids are why it's here, and they're the ones that did the work to bring it. And we're confident that we will survive and we will rebuild a museum. So that's what we're focusing on right now, to start making plans. So.
Well,
Gail, thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You guys are doing a great job. Thank you for what you're doing too.
No problem. So, thank you. We'd like now to turn over to Iowa City, where TV9's Steve Nichols is standing by live with an update there. Steve?
Oh, Beth, it's important to note there have been a lot of people evacuated in Iowa City and in Coralville. Iowa City specifically, they're saying they had mandatory evacuations for about 600 people. Those people have a few different options of where to go. There are 3 shelters in Johnson County. There's Northwest Junior High School in Coralville, then there's City High, and there is the Johnson County Fairgrounds in Iowa City. Earlier today, we went to the Johnson County Fairgrounds to get a sense of what's going on there, what it's like staying in the shelter, and it was very calm and quiet. Only a few people were in there earlier today when we were there. I'm told last night they had maybe 55 people spend the night. They have room for about double that, and they have another building they can show that they can put people in if they need to. People who are in there today are just basically trying to find a way to pass the time, whether they're sitting around listening to music or maybe sitting at a table and kind of talking if there's other people around. It's a difficult situation for them because they can't go back to their homes at this point. They're kind of stuck with trying to figure out what to do. We talked to a couple people who were there, and I think they give a pretty good sense of what life is like when you're displaced from your home.
The days are harder. You know, they're long. You know, try to keep the kids busy, and they get really, you know, bored in here, so we try to keep them outside and things like that. At night, it's not so bad. Last night was the first night I stayed, and I was able to get some sleep. You know, people were pretty respectful here, you know, of getting sleep and getting their kids down and stuff.
Just the stress and just realizing, you know, that